Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Parallel Deku, back with another fanfiction. This is the second part of What If Deku Was Gifted Demonic Powers. Now before starting, please give this video a like, and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Do you always eat here? Kyoka asked as they were at the same burger place for the 7th time. Yay, why? Izuku asked as he dug into a second burger. It is so unhealthy. Kyoka watched as Izuku practically inhaled the burger. It is delicious, Izuku explained. It was the exact day before they could move into their dorms. All of the new group of friends have discovered they had passed. While Katsuki was peeved he was in second place to Izuku. Have they told us what classes we are in? Though Hanta spun his cap around to face backwards as he sat at what was now their normal booth in the corner. Ochako shook her head. We were told to pack and that we will be lead to our dorms then. I believe it is by classroom though, so we just need to get the same class, she said optimistically. So let's hack the school and check. Izuku clapped his hands together. Nito immediately started to wave his hands. No hacking, no fun. Izuku made a fake pout. I wouldn't have caused too much damage. Don't care. No hacking for you. Nito was still pissed that Izuku had hacked his phone, so the every tap to his screen played an old song by someone named Rick Astley, and made it so Nito couldn't change it. Nito was glad that he had gotten his old phone from Kyoka to use instead. Fine then. Izuku hacked it the day before anyways. Not that he would tell Nito that now, but he did see that they were all in the same class thankfully. So what is the game plan for stuff today? Denki asked. Are we going to the arcade again? I wanted to spend it trying to work on my mold, but I have no problem with that. Izuku agreed to the idea. Where is Bakugo? Denki asked. He said he wanted to train more today, Nito said as he checked his Rick Astley free phone to see the cryptic message Katsuki sent him. Can you meet me by the beach at noon? I have an issue I don't want the others to know. KB. Not sure why Katsuki wanted Nito out of the whole group. He practically had Hanta and Denki follow him like lapdogs, the two of them enjoying teasing the explosive teen. So we have arcade. What else? Izuku had to get more to do if he wasn't training. Might as well cram as many activities as possible into their last day before moving into the dorms. Wanna see how many of us you can fly while carrying? Denki grinned. That sounds fun and dangerous. I am so in. Izuku loved the idea. We don't have to agree to that, right? Kyoka was not about to become a splatter on the ground. Of course you don't have to do it. Izuku shook his head. I can't be a responsible hero if I expect everyone else to agree to my stupidity. Should an irresponsible idiot even be a hero? Denki asked jokingly. If they can't, this group is in trouble. Kyoka grinned while Denki deflated. That was right and uncalled for. Hanta looked offended. The truth does hurt. Izuku nodded. He pointed at his liver. It hurts here the most. You realize that you agreed to yourself being stupid, right? Ochako asked Izuku, almost blushing when he looked at her. I pride myself on my intelligence and my stupidity equally. Izuku grinned. Let's head to the arcade and plan from there. Everyone paid for their food and began to leave the shop, but Izuku pulled Nito to the back of the group, just asking him a question. Guys, don't worry. Izuku brushed off the others as they wondered why Izuku and Nito were laughing behind. What's wrong? Nito didn't like the judging look Izuku was giving him. Why aren't you doing anything, man? Izuku asked. What do you mean? Nito wasn't sure what Izuku was referring to, but he did have an idea and he didn't like it. You know what I am talking about, dude. Izuku got Nito to stop walking. Why haven't you tried to ask her out or anything? Nito was upset. His guess was right. What, he tried to play dumb? Oh, don't play dumb with me, man. I am actually smart. Remember, we have known each other for 5 years and I can tell easily when you are flustered. What does me being flustered have to do with anything? Nito tried to defend himself. You don't do that often, but every single time Kyoka is near you or speaking to you I can tell you are acting like someone with a crush, says the one who took a week to realize the Panther girl from their own test was hitting on them. Nito hated how Izuku was acute at noticing Nito liking a girl but a complete idiot when it came to any female liking him. Don't flip this around on me, man. I'm stupid but not an idiot. You obviously like her, so why not ask her on a date? What if she doesn't like me back? Nito asked. Izuku didn't even blink. That's the point of asking. Try to ask to hang out or something, and if she shows interest, ask her out. She had your phone for a year and it took her a week of hanging out to remember to give it to you, both of you forgetting about it, even though you saw each other every other day. Abu HMPH. Nito tried to find anything to say to argue back, but he drew a blank. I will. Okay. Today Izuku raised an eyebrow. No, I will do it when I feel the time is right. This might be too soon. It might be, but if you continue to wait for a perfect moment you will miss many great moments, Izuku said as they began to walk to the arcade. How the hell do you sound wise? I have one brain cell popping around my head like a DVD logo, and once it hits the corners I get proverbs. That sounds stupid. Nito looked at the time on his phone and saw it was close to noon. Hey, I got to go do something. He started to head for the beach. All right, I'll let the crew know what happened. Izuku realized he was now free to fly to the arcade as long as he didn't get caught by an adult who was anal about the quirk usage rules. He instant jumped into the air and let his wings take him the distance to the arcade. Nito found Katsuki sitting on a large rock looking exhausted. Training hard, Nito asked as he stood next to the rock. Can't let myself get dull. Katsuki wiped his head with his towel. I need help. I will try to offer it however I can. Nito was wondering what Katsuki would actually admit to needing help about. What's the problem? I need actual help training, Katsuki admitted. Nito blinked. You want my help? Yes. Why? Because I don't want to be in second place. As much as I know not to be that arrogant ass, I don't want to fall behind at all. But why not ask Izuku? He is the guy I want to catch up to. I don't want his help catching up to him like this because it won't feel right to me. You however aren't him, so I can ask you for help. So this was about training. Yes, I guess we can start soon. Thanks, Preppy. The whole group was on the beach. It was now 6 o'clock. Nito and Katsuki had joined up with the group after their talk, and they spent most of the last few hours playing games at Katsuki's house. So how many of you want to fly? Izuku asked as he opened his wings all of the way. I'm out, Kyoka said as she sat in the sand. My explosions are enough for me. Katsuki let a small explosion pop in his hand. I just got full control of my quirk back and don't want a head injury to ruin that. Nito had issues with his copy quirk and demonic powers working, and All Might explained that it was one for all melding itself with the copy quirk and the demonic powers probably being close off to accommodate the changes. Once everything came back to him, he noticed that his copy quirk had improved to let him hold 5 quirks in half an hour each for all of them. The cloak from his pin had become sturdier and harder for someone like Izuku to crack. But Izuku still could put a sizable amount of cracks in the cloak with a supercharged green blast. Okay, everyone, that is not a square climb on. Izuku almost fell forward as Hanta and Denki both jumped on his back. Give me a warning. You just told us to, Denki pointed out. Izuku looked at Ochako. You won on they took the back, so you get my arms, I guess. Can I make a joke? Hanta whispered to Denki. Off. Izuku poked Hanta. Ochako didn't even think before nodding and letting Izuku grab her, enjoying how strong he felt. Don't kill half of our friends, please, Nito asked as Izuku chuckled and let his wings start flapping. Izuku flew up into the air until he was 60 meters off of the ground. From here you can see Yue. Almost. Ochako stopped staring at Izuku to point off in the distance towards where Yue was supposed to be. Izuku twisted so he could face that direction as well. How cool. Hey Izuku, is this too much? Denki asked, now realizing how high they were. My wings feel fine, so we aren't too much weight. The height might be a bit much though for first-time flyers. Izuku grinned and they all didn't like that look. Hold on tight. He began to nosedive really fast towards the ocean. I hate this, Denki screamed. Hanta was trying to do math on whether or not he could jump it, use his tape to swing from a close-by building. Ochako decided it would be easier to bury her face in Izuku's than to see how fast they were going. Izuku slowed the nosedive and lowered to by the water before he sped back up towards the friends who didn't want to fly. Landing back in the sand, Izuku let his wings rest and Denki immediately jumped off of Izuku and began to the sand. Beautiful land, Denki said as he continued to the ground. Hanta laughed. It wasn't that bad. So you want to go again? Izuku asked. No, Hanta exclaimed quickly. Yuck. Izuku grinned. He looked at Ochako, who hadn't removed herself from him, having not noticed they were on the ground again. Ochako. Ochako looked up at Izuku before she realized that they were on the ground and that it was now considered weird to be holding him that tightly. Jumping away, she blushed hard. Sorry, I apparently don't like flying. I'm glad I didn't do it, Kyoka said from her spot on the ground. I would have killed you once you started to nosedive. I believe that. Izuku had already guessed she would have reacted like that. I should start flying with some weights on. That way these bad boys can be sturdier. His wings flapped once for emphasis. As long as I am not one of the weights, I think that is a wonderful idea. Hanta wanted to make that clear. Denki shot up. Me neither. I am not a weight. He motioned his arms in an X. You guys are no fun. Izuku didn't blame them for not liking flying their first time. He was scared his first time also. Katsuki yelled. Hey, I'm back. Where did you go? Denki asked. Once you wits decided to fly, I went to go get these. Katsuki held a bag with popsicles. Take one, I don't care. Why is he trying to act cool about that? Kyoka whispered to Nito, who shrugged. So tomorrow we will all be lead to our dorms and meet our classmates. Hanta plopped into the sand next to Nito. Yep, hope we get the same class. Denki sat next to Kyoka. Everyone soon forming a circle. Izuku farther from everyone on his stomach so he can let his wings sway in the wind. Oh, we are in the same class. Izuku traced his finger through the sand. How do you know? Katsuki was sure that Izuku was just being optimistic. Did you hack into the school? Nito narrowed his eyes. Not really as much hacking as finding a roster online by using a password that wasn't mine to get into a server at the school remotely. Izuku replied. How did you get that password? Nito figured he already knew what Izuku would say. Oh, that part was hacking. Izuku confirmed Nito's suspicion. I thought I said no hacking. Nito let out a sigh. You said that today. I did this 3 days ago. Wait, you knew for 3 days and just stayed quiet on that Denki cut-in? We have been here worried we wouldn't get in the same class for the past week. Izuku shrugged. No one asked if I checked. Are we just going to brush past the part where Izuku can hack into a prestigious school's private servers and act like it is nothing? Kyoka exclaimed. Yeah, Katsuki nodded. He does weirder things anyways. Ochako smiled. I'm just awesome and you can't handle it. Izuku chuckled as Kyoka threw her popsicle stick at him, hitting his shoulder. So do you guys think we saw anyone at our tests that we will see in class? Ochako asked. I mean, there were a lot of people there, so we might not have seen them at all. We definitely didn't see the 2 recommended students that will be joining us. Their test was a week before ours. Izuku plucked a feather off of his wing to hold as the sun started to set, enjoying the warmth the harmless fire provided. I bet you hope the Panther girl shows up. Denki smirked at Izuku. What? No, whatever. Izuku didn't enjoy the fact that his friends would tease him about his emotional cluelessness, which he felt was worse because they had only known each other for 2 weeks. He will probably take a week to notice if she was there. Kyoka laughed, then another to realize she said hi to him. Hanta laughed as well. Haha, I get it. Izuku is stupid. Izuku did get a chuckle out of it, not noticing Ochako looking flustered the whole time they made jokes about the Panther girl and Izuku. So are you bringing your game systems to the dorms? Denki changed the subject and asked Katsuki. PFFT, of course I am. Katsuki broke into a grin. You think I want people to feel happy with their game skills when I can show them how pathetic they are? Didn't I beat you earlier? Kyoka asked with a smug smile. That was a fluke. I am still going to beat the others. Once I learn how to play you or Ed. Izuku had gotten rid of his wings and was in his back at this point. Give me a day to learn how to play a fighting game and I can crush you. Not at my character's current level. Katsuki retorted. You would have a better chance of having a fire in the water. The flames on my wings can be in water. Izuku pointed out. Those weak-ass flames that don't actually burn anything don't count, those are just glorified lights. Katsuki shouted. You're right. Izuku tossed Katsuki the feather. As a reward for winning this argument, you gain a feather. Soon you can fly like me. Ochako started giggling at what Izuku said while Hanta and Denki chuckled. Why would I want to carry around your chicken-looking wings? To fly like a chicken. Izuku didn't hesitate to answer. Can chickens fly? Denki asked. Not well. We found out firsthand. Nito answered him. Rest in peace, William. Izuku pounded his heart. Gone but never forgotten. Did you guys kill a chicken trying to make it fly? Ochako asked. We didn't kill William. Gravity did. Izuku answered. You say that to not feel guilty that you were the one who let him go over the edge of the building. Nito wondered how the con got here so fast. You know I am bound to be an idiot, so it is always your fault if you don't stop me from doing idiotic things. Izuku crossed his arms, while still on his back, not even face Nito. It's not my job to keep you from being stupid. Not with that attitude. I quit. You can't quit. Just did. You are under moral obligation and contract to help me, and making sure I know when I try to do dumb things is helping me. I hate that you are right. Nito sighed and Kyoka pat his back, which made him blush, but thankfully the sun setting hid that fact. Well, my parents are going to want me home soon, so see you tomorrow, guys. Hanta shot up and began to leave. It is getting darker. Denki got up. See everybody at our dorms. Nito got up and wiped sand off of his shorts, offering a hand to pull Kyoka up, which she took. Seems like everyone is leaving. Kyoka nodded. See you tomorrow, Nito. Kyoka left without realizing she only said bye to Nito. See you non-rejects at the corner, Katsuki said to Nito and Izuku, who still hadn't moved from the ground. See you two tomorrow. Nito decided to keep pace with Katsuki as he left. So that training, what about it? I figured you would be spending the rest of today trying to act like you don't like gyro. Why is that? Nito couldn't finish his words. Relax, I don't really care. We can start some training. You suck at not being obvious though. Shut up, was Nito's response. Back on the beach, Izuku had his eyes closed. So do you think our classmates will be just as powerful as you? Ochako asked Izuku, now lying on her back next to him. I have no doubts that we will have classmates with cool quirks. They better be top tier for their own sake, or they would have to hear Katsuki calling them extras or rejects a lot. Ochako was silent for a second. We should hang out more. The group sees each other like every day almost. We're about to all live in the same building, Izuku replied, not realizing what she meant. Ochako wanted to sigh at how dense Izuku was. She was in the middle of thinking of how to reword it when Izuku got up and popped his wings back out. I probably should get home. You too. Izuku offered her a hand to get up. Want me to fly you home or something? The wings are hurt. I will be fine. Bye, Izuku. Ochako almost yelled as she tried to hide her continually growing blush. Izuku watched her speed walk away from him. Weird. Izuku jumped into the air to fly home. The next day it was raining hard, so Izuku actually had a proper coat on. so his mom wouldn't flip out even more than she was letting her son move into the school. His coat was a dark violet and had so many pockets he could practically out all of his belongings in them to take to school. He saw Nito up ahead at the corner that the two of them and Katsuki normally meet at, because it was near the center of where they all lived. "Hey and boy, what's up?" Izuku greeted his friend with a fist bump. "I don't like the rain," Nito complained. "Hard to keep a suit looking completely good in it. First world problems at their finest." Izuku chuckled. "I probably won't fly as well in this either. That's a tragedy. You having to go a day without flying the horror," Nito said with almost no emotion. "I might not make it to tomorrow," Izuku said dramatically. "If I don't, I need you to destroy the gun. No one gets my secrets." "Got it." Nito nodded and smiled. They both turned as they heard cursing. It was Katsuki carrying his 2 bags in one arm and looking pissed. "I hate the ing raining piss water from God. That makes me not able to use my ing quirk." Katsuki gritted his teeth as he walked next to the two of them. "Let's ing go, so we can get the ing hell out of this ing shit. When it is legal, we should make a drinking game out of every time he says." Izuku grinned at Nito. "I am not going to die of alcohol poisoning," Nito replied. "Both of us. Why did you stop?" Nito turned to look at Izuku, as did Katsuki. Izuku was standing at the gate with his new ID in hand, staring at it. "What's wrong with you?" Katsuki asked. Izuku looked at them and they both saw tears welling up in his eyes. "What happened?" Nito was worried. "I'm just thinking about everything I did and had to go through to get here." Izuku started smiling. "And how proud Gramps and Mima are of me right now. And how lucky I am to be related to them." Katsuki smacked Izuku's shoulder. "Well, standing here crying isn't something to want to see, so come on." Katsuki was confused, thinking that the wording suggested Izuku's Mima died, but Katsuki never heard about that. Izuku looked at the ID again. "Right, sorry, I don't think I have gotten like that in a while." "Don't do it again," Katsuki said, "or I will start thinking that you are only acting tough." Izuku grinned. "Can't act at will. Whatever, let's just get to our new dorms." Katsuki began to walk again, the other two following him. "What class are you?" 3 little dudes with a loud voice called out to them. They turned to see Present Mike. Present Mike? Wow, Izuku had stars in his eyes. "Hey listener." Present Mike was glad to see a student not annoyed by how loud he can be. "We are in class 1A, Nito answered him. The first year dorm buildings are down that path to the right, or the left, because the paths circle around the main building and the dorms are on the other side of the main building here. The dorms are by classes and your class should be brightly printed on the front of the building. There should be a list stating where everybody's rooms are and they have been prepped to what was requested by each student personally. See you little dudes in classes and orientation tomorrow," Present Mike explained. The 3 thanked him, Katsuki with a grunt, and they made their way to the dorms. "So think we might see anyone else from our tests?" Nito asked. "I saw someone who had his ing shadow destroying shit for him," Katsuki said. "If anyone, I want to see that bird-headed person." Izuku thought about it. "Maybe I might see the guy who called me his Twinkling Buddy." "Twinkling Buddy?" Nito stared in confusion. "He has like star stuff of twinkles around him and he said it lets him shine in glory and that my halo veins do the same for me, so he said we were twinkling buddies." "Why do you call them your halo veins?" Katsuki asked. "I dunno. Sounds cool." Izuku lied. Katsuki felt like Izuku was lying but didn't go into that. Izuku always acted weird about his grandparents and his powers. "I saw someone with vines for hair," Nito said. "She looked like she was in prayer while letting the vines toss the robots all over the place." "Cool." Izuku mused how the girl might be really religious and would flip her shit if she found out he had an actual halo that was once Satan. "I see our ing building. Let's hurry up, I hate the ing rain." Katsuki started to hurry up without checking if the other two would follow his pace, which they didn't. "So how much you want to bet when we get there he will be swearing at someone?" Nito asked. "I bet for once he won't." Izuku checked his wallet. "How about 500 yen? Sounds reasonable. Can't wait to be 500 yen richer." "Someone is confident," Izuku remarked. "It is Katsuki. If I have learned anything in the few months I have been friends with him, it is that he will be rude to everyone but his mom. Or Mima." Izuku remembered Katsuki's one time meeting her. "I think even Yanjai-sensei is afraid of her though. She doesn't count." Nito wasn't there for the event, but Izuku's description of what happened was good enough. Arriving at the door to their building, they heard yelling inside. Walking in, they could hear much better. "It is very rude to enter in such a manner and track mud through the commons." Izuku recognized the kid Tenya as the one yelling at Katsuki. "Off you stuck-up four-eyed shithead," Katsuki yelled back. When Izuku and Nito entered the commons, the 5 people in there all turned to look at them. "Well shit, you were right." Izuku handed the agreed amount of yen to Nito. "I place smart bets." Nito smirked. "Katsuki, can we not start meeting our classmates with swearing?" Izuku asked. "Tell that to the head," Katsuki shouted. "Hey Dynamite, shush." Kyoka made her way into the building behind Izuku and Nito. Katsuki wanted to continue yelling but instead kicked his muddy shies off and stormed to the kitchen. "That's a good entrance if I do say so." Izuku took off his boots and placed them close to the door. "I apologize for my part in causing a scene." Tenya bowed to the people in the room almost robotically. It's fine. Izuku saw a red sweater sleeve move on its own. Is your quirk invisibility? Izuku asked, looking at what he assumed would be the spot ahead would be. Omi, the invisible girl said again, sounded flustered at having the whole room's attention on her. Yes, it's invisibility and I can't turn it off. I'm Toru Hagakure. Neat. Izuku found it interesting. I can grow wings. Izuku Midoriya. That is not all this dude can do, Hanta shouted from a couch. I saw this dude hurling green stuff at robots and he punched a 0-pointer and blew it up with lightning. Wow, that's manly, a redhead said, excited. Wait, where are the wings? A pink girl with horns asked. I didn't want to have them out in the rain. It's like an off and on switch whether they are out or not. Oh, can you bring them out now? The invisible girl, Toru asked. Can I unpack and then sure? Izuku looked around. How do I find out where my room is? Tenya handed him the paper. I have been meaning to say thank you again for helping me in the test. Izuku took the paper and smiled. Oh, it was nothing. I will do it again if I gotta. Dude, you are really manly. Ijiru Kirishima, the red-headed guy, greeted Izuku. I have no doubt everyone here is manly, seeing as how we all passed the same test. Izuku continued to scan the paper for his name, finding it on the boys' half of the building on the 5th, top floor. Ijiru blinked, really enjoying the energy Izuku gave off. Dude, you are awesome. Thanks, you definitely got more than energy to be the same, if not more. Izuku was making his way to the staircase that lead upstairs before he heard Tenya speak. The whole class is wanted to be back from setting up so we can meet each other. Alright. Izuku went upstairs to his room, unaware of the slight glow the Morningstar pendant was giving off in his pocket that was growing. Coming back down the stairs in his gray pants and a green tee, he adjusted his sunglasses on his face. Izuku, Denki yelled, letting everyone else know Izuku was there. Most of the class was sitting at one of 2 tables, each one big enough for 10 of the students. Hello. Izuku saw Ochako motioning for him to sit next to her and he took the seat. Tenya stood up. I believe we are only missing one single student right now. Hanta waved his hand. Oh, that's just Katsuki. He probably would have screamed at everyone anyways. It would still be best for everyone to be here. Tenya said, I can ring him up. Izuku pulled out his phone and dialed Katsuki's number. A second later he picked up. But do you want? Katsuki's voice came through the phone on speaker. Katsuki, get down here, man. The whole class is supposed to be here for meeting and stuff. I don't give a shit about meeting extras. Some of the students who didn't already know of his attitude looked offended, especially a kid with white and red hair. Dude, if they got in the same class as you, why don't you just them a chance? Izuku reasoned. Katsuki stayed quiet for a second. I will be down in 1 second. So vulgar. A girl Izuku instantly thought was the most attractive girl has ever seen said. Is he always like that? The pink girl asked. Pretty much. He gets better with time, Denki said. Katsuki came around the corner of the stairs. Alright, I'm here. He sounded annoyed as he sat on the other side of Izuku. Alright, now I believe we should introduce ourselves and say some facts about ourselves so we can get to know each other better. Tenya almost shouted. I want to make a joke about this being first day of school stuff. Izuku muttered to Nito sitting across from him. Why don't we use the test scores they gave us? The pink girl said. Go from lowest to highest, that way we have an order. Does anyone disagree? Tenya asked. Yeah. Katsuki put his feet on the table. Who the made you the leader here? Hey, please don't sweat today, man. Denki pleaded. Let the man talk and you can form a mutiny later. You're joining the mutiny no matter what now, Katsuki ordered as he stopped talking. Okay, the test scores were left here for our teacher, who left a note saying to just get to know each other. Tenya fixed his glasses as he looked at the paper. If we go by lowest then. Don't say the scores though, Nito interrupted. Sorry for the rudeness, but maybe not everyone wants that to be shared. Tenya nodded. Okay, then without further ado, the first person to speak would be Toru Hagakure. Judging by the way the sweater's sleeves moved, Izuku could guess Toru was trying to hide her face, which seemed odd seeing as how she was completely invisible. Can't believe I am the lowest. She sounded embarrassed. Hi, I'm Toru Hagakure. My quirk makes me completely invisible and I can't control it. I love caramel and karaoke. She sat back down insanely fast. Do you want to add reasons for being a hero or goals or dreams? Tenya asked. I want to be a hero to protect the innocent. Toru had her hands covering her face, which muffled her voice. Let's just go to the next person, Izuku said. People might not be comfortable with each other here yet. Alright then, next is Minoru Mainta. A really short guy with purple S for hair stood on his chair. I am Minoru Mainta. My quirk makes the S in my hair pop off and become very sticky to everything but me. I like the ladies and want to be a hero to save the innocent. The hero reasoning should be skipped really, because everyone can answer with the generic protect others reason, especially when that is one of like 5 good reasons to be a hero. Just say a personal life goal if anything. Katsuki ranted. So much for no swearing. Kyoka rolled her eyes. I think Katsuki had a point even if he didn't say it the nice way. Izuku said. Heroes are supposed to want to help protect people, so we all should be becoming heroes for relatively similar reason. However, life goals are personal and you don't have to share them, but it's better than saying the same plan of being a hero to protect people when that should be a given. Minoru then spoke. My goal is to be a hero that is popular with the ladies. Sometimes it is best not to speak. Izuku repeated. Tenya attempted to regain control of the conversation. The next person is Mashirao Ajiro. A blonde guy with a tail similar to a lion stood up. I'm Ajiro and my quirk is my tail that I can control like any normal limb. I take martial arts classes and my goal is to be a top martial artist. Mashirao sat back down with a small bow. You think you could teach me some? Toro asked. My fighting isn't really that good. Mashirao nodded. Next is Yuuga Aoyama, Tenya announced. Yuuga Aoyama, who Izuku recognized as the French boy from his test who called him his twinkling buddy, stood up and put his arm up in a pose, bits of light twinkling as he did. I am the ever-dazzling Monsieur Aoyama. I love to dazzle and want to be the brightest shining hero. I can shoot a laser from my navel, but it can hurt my tummy if used too much. Bro, just keep shining, twinkling buddy, Izuku said while doing finger guns. Aoyama smiled and nodded. I expect the same from you as well, my twinkling buddy. Twinkling buddy, the pink girl looked confused. But he doesn't have that weird twinkle. That twinkle of his is beautiful, and my thing only happens with my quirk. Izuku answered. What's your quirk? A kid who had a bird's head asked. The bird head was black and looked similar to a crow or a raven. I don't want to disrupt the order. Izuku ribbed the back of his head. Plus it takes a while to explain everything. At that statement, half of the class looked confused at Izuku, wondering what his quirk could be if it takes a minute to explain. That is fair, the bird-headed kid said. Tenya, who looked annoyed that every time he said a student, someone interrupted the process. The next person is Kyoka Gyro. Gyro stood up and had a small blush, spinning one of her earphone jacks around. I'm Gyro and my quirk is my earphone jacks. I can plug them into anything and increase my hearing, or send a pulse from my heartbeat through them as an attack. I like rock music and I want to be able to play any instrument. She sat back down and faced away from most of the table, facing Nito instead. That's cool, the pink girl said. Hanta Zero, Tenya announced. That's me, Hanta grinned. My quirk is that I can dispense incredibly sticky and tough tape from my elbows. I love oranges and American comics. Denki Kaminari. Denki jumped up when his name was said. I'm Denki. I have an electric quirk that I can discharge large amounts of electricity from myself, but I can short-circuit myself if I do too much. A large guy with 6 arms, each side having their arms connected almost like wings, and a blue mask covering the lower half of his face raised his hand. Were you the one to use that lightning to destroy the zero-pointer in test site 4? Do you mean Paul? Izuku asked. Paul, several of the students asked. I named our zero-pointer Paul, Izuku said. Yeah, and he punched Paul so hard that Paul got launched into the air and then shot so much lightning at Paul that he blew up completely, Hanta yelled with excitement. All of the students were silent for a second. How strong exactly was the green-haired boy? Well, Nito straight up punched our zero-pointer's arm straight off. He broke his own arm. It was so powerful, Denki added. Izuku expected Katsuki to shout about destroying his own zero-pointer as well, but Katsuki was instead staring at the table silently, looking like he was thinking hard about something. Let's continue the introductions, Nito said, getting embarrassed by the looks. But only really the prideful one from Kyoka. Yes, next is Mezu Shaoji, Tenya announced. Mezu, the big-size arm guy, stood up, easily taller than everyone else, and spoke, but he was speaking through a mouth that was on the end of an arm stump. I am Mezu Shaoji. My quirk is called Dupli Arms. It allows me to grow body parts such as a mouth, ears, or even more arms. They have a higher degree of sense so I can hear better or have even more strength through these arms. I only wish to use my abilities to my best to help others. He sat down with a bow. Next is Mina Ashido, Tenya announced. The pink girl launched out of her seat, knocking it over. I'm Mina. I love dancing and arcades. I am a huge romance expert, so I am going to be all about that here. You better believe if I see any young live here, I show my full support. She didn't breathe between any words. My goal is to be the best alien queen I can be. Her grin never left her face as she sat back down. Next is Tsuyu Asui, Tenya announced the next name. A girl with bug round eyes and long green hair that was tied in a bow at the end waved everyone's attention to her. You can call me Tsu. Ribbit. Izuku was slightly confused about hearing a girl just ribbit like a frog. My quirk is called Frog. I can do pretty much everything a frog can do. Hopping long distances, I can extend my tongue out far, and I can stick to walls among other things. I also can't be exposed to cold weather nor temperature for too long, or else I go into a hibernation until I warm back up. My goal is to be the best water-type hero. Alright, next on the list is me. I am Tenya Ida. My quirk is my engines and my calves. They give me extreme speed and can increase my kicking power. I do enjoy reading and training. I aim to make my family proud and carry the Ida name with pride. Ada sounded oddly familiar to Izuku before it clicked in his head. Wait, you are related to Ingenium? Izuku asked. Dude, Ingenium is cool as shit. Yeah, he is so manly. The Ijiru nodded along. Yes, he is my older brother in my role. Model, Tenya nodded. He is what I see as a great hero who sets the bar for what a hero should be. Izuku clapped his hands together. Mad respect, man. You got a good goal going for you. Tenya smiled, liking Izuku more than when he first met him. Alright, I believe next is Yui Kodai. A girl with black hair in a bob and an almost expressionless face nodded. I'm Yui. I have a quirk that lets me change the size of inanimate objects at will, she said plainly. Anything else? Tenya asked. Not sure if she was thinking before she spoke, she shook her head. Alright, next is Fumikage Takoyami. The bird-headed boy nodded. I am him. My quirk is called Dark Shadow. I have a shadow that has a mind of its own that can fight alongside me. With that, a shadow appeared from his resembling Fumikage with bright yellow eyes. I am Dark Shadow. The shadow introduced itself. It looked around at everyone but stopped on Izuku, staring intensely into his before its eyes went wide and it disappeared into Fumikage. What was that about? Denki asked as he looked between Izuku and Fumikage. Does it owe you lunch money? Izuku shrugged. Maybe it thinks I'm ugly. Ochako giggled next to him and Nito swore he say Katsuki's eye twitched. That was odd, Fumikage stated. Anyways, I enjoy HP Lovecraft and a good moonlit night. My goal is to be the best team with Dark Shadow I can be. HP Lovecraft, there's some old classics right there, Izuku remarked. So you are familiar with his works? Fumikage sounded almost excited. I only have limited knowledge. If we find a good day you can show me some more, my guy, Izuku said. It shall be a fine day. Fumikage nodded. Next is Ochako Uraraka, Tenya announced. Ochako stood up almost as fast as Mina, but she didn't knock over her chair. I am Ochako. My quirk makes anything I touch with all of my fingers on one hand lose its gravity. I love starry nights and I want to be a great rescue hero like number 13. Next is Nito Monoma, Tenya announced. Nito stood and bowed. I am Nito Monoma. My quirk is called Copy. Anyone I touch with a quirk that doesn't require a physical mutation I can use for a set amount of time. Wait, that punch of yours was someone else's quirk? Denki asked. No, that is a new evolution of my quirk I didn't know about until the day of the test. I believe that it is the potential energy of my quirk built up over time. I enjoy quiet time and my goal is to make my mentor proud in making me a student and to stop this idiot. At that part he gestured across the table to Izuku, who grinned like an idiot and waved to everyone. From doing some big amount of damage to himself. Should have been at our test site then. When you use so much electricity he shocked himself into a coma. Handa chuckled. To be fair, I just learned about that ability of mine with my Mima the day before the test. Izuku tried to defend his action. Our next person is Ijiro Kirishima. Ijiro grinned and stood up. I'm Ijiro and my quirk is Harden. Ijiro demonstrated by having his arm harden and looking now as hard as a diamond. Not as flashy as some of your guys, but I think it is manly enough to get the job done. I enjoy old western films and a good old-fashioned fight. My goal is to be as manly a hero as my idol Crimson Riot. Izuku loved the amount of commitment and drive behind that statement. Good idol. He is top tier in my book. Ijiro grinned at Izuku, finding a new friend. Next is Katsuki Bakugo. Everyone looked at Katsuki, who looked pissed at having to actually interact with the class. My quirk is to use the sweat in my hands that have different chemicals in them like nitroglycerin in them to create explosion. Katsuki let loose a few small explosions. My goal in reality is to be the besting hero out there. Don't you like anything? Izuku asked with a joking tone. Nobody but Nito noticed the small look towards Ochako before he glared at Izuku. Off glowstick, Katsuki almost growled, managing to hide his growing dislike of the situation he had dug himself into. Glowstick, is that because of the slight glow all over you? Mina asked. He gives out nicknames instead of memorizing our real names, Izuku explained. Glowstick because of what my quirk does. What does her quirk do? Fumikage asked, thinking it could explain why Dark Shadow reacted to Izuku the way he did. We gotta wait my turn. Tenya looked at the paper. Next is Tenya looked up at Izuku in shock. You got 178 points. What? Most of the class exclaimed in shock. Yay, why? Izuku didn't know if that high of a score was a really big deal because his knowledge was not the best with the entrance exam. Izuku, you do know that the previous record was 112 and it was All Might, right? Nito wondered how his friend could be a major fanboy and so knowledgeable on heroes but then have the weirdest gaps in knowledge. Oh, cool. Izuku smiled. Cool, Minoru shouted. It's just cool that you broke the previous record by such a large margin. Izuku shrugged. It is what it is. Bro, that's so manly. Ijiro commented. So I should do my proper introduction. Izuku stood up. I am Izuku Midoriya. My super awesome quirk is called Saint's Flow. It as a base gives me what I call my halo veins, which are these faint lines all over me. When I activate the quirk, the colors you can faintly see juice up and become a nice shade of violet and lime green respectively. I get super strength, super speed. I can hurl 2 types of energy blasts. I have that electricity that was mentioned earlier. A molding ability I can use to mold blue energy into stuff, but that requires a lot of focus. I also can materialize actual whims that attach and give all left the feelings of real limbs. They are my personal favorite. Dude, why do you have half of a class's worth of quirks? Ijiro asked. Just awesome like that. Izuku flicked his saint's pendant. My goal is to become the legacy my grandpa left to me and make him damn proud of me as a saint. The holy figures, Saint Mina asked. No, why does everyone ask that? Jizuku almost deflated. Long story short, it was a group my Gramps and Mima were in. I am to be the next leader and start the group back up. Manly as hell. Ijiro nodded. I believe you can make your grandpa proud with your list of abilities. What are your likes? MJNA asked. Nito was hoping Izuku didn't say something stupid or reveal secrets like he was getting dangerously close to, while Achako hoped Izuku said her as a line. Let's see, first and foremost, I love flying around in my wings. The rush from that is amazing. I like burgers and I enjoy tinkering with some journals my Mima left me in training. Izuku took off his sunglasses for the first time since he got there, and everyone unaware of the electricity that dances around his sclere was surprised. Whoa, that is pretty, Toru remarked. Yet all my abilities seem to leave physical changes on me. Izuku shrugged as he continued to clean his shades on his shirt. Let's continue. Tenya nodded. The 2 recommended students in our class are left. First is Momoge Irazu. The really attractive girl nodded and stood up. Izuku forgomitting about cleaning his shades to look at her, which Achako noticed. I'm Momoge Irazu. My quirk is called creation. I can create anything that isn't a living creature with the fat cells from my body as long as I know the molecular layout of the object. I enjoy reading and strategy games such as shogi or chess. I plan to use my quirk to its best heroic outcome, Momo said, noticing how Izuku's gaze never left her own eyes. Tenya, read the last name on the paper. Shoto Todoroki. The final kid, who had white and red hair split down the middle with a burn mark covering his left eye that was bright blue unlike his right eye, which was gray. My name is Shoto Todoroki. Shoto answered with what was perhaps the coldest tone most of them have heard. Shoto stood up and began to leave, not saying anything else. Well, that is a buzzkill if I ever seen one. Denki commented. Definitely. Izuku nodded. So what now? Izuku turned to Tenya. We can do bonding activities, chat amongst ourselves, or go about our business before classes tomorrow. Curfew is at 10 p.m. But gates of UA lock at 9 p.m. Tenya stated. Sweet. Denki jumped over to Katsuki. Hey dude, let's hook up your games here in the commons. Katsuki's scowl disappeared and was replaced with a smirk. So you really want to be beat that bad? On day 1, the 2 of them along with Hanta went upstairs to gather Katsuki's games. Mina bounced in front of Izuku. Can I see your wings, Midori? Izuku kinda like Midori. Yes, as long as I have room to bring them out. I don't think anyone wants a face full of my feathers. Izuku went to an empty but big enough spot to bring them out. Izuku channeled his energy and noticed how everyone watching seemed mesmerized by the flowing of his energy filling the halo veins. Fumikage silently widened his eyes as Dark Shadow whispered into his ear, telling him of the arcane nature of Izuku's powers. Fumikage knew it was best to stay quiet on the matter, but knowing it was good enough for him. Alrighty, now that part is done. Izuku mumbled and did the almost instinctual act of calling his wings to come out. The wings fluttered to life and Izuku flapped them to get the flowing or energy stuff. His wings did bleed, but Izuku was still trying to learn about that. While Toru ran forward to look at them closer. Do the flames hurt? Those have always been there. They're for show really, although the flames are warm. Ijiro nodded. I can see why you have a thing for the colors green and purple. He really is a twinkling star. Aoyama knitted in approval. Can you take me flying? Mina asked, and no one noticed Achako's scowl for a second. Don't let him take you flying, Kyoka warned. He won't drop you, but he will fly like you aren't there. If you didn't take the ride, you don't get to leave a review. Izuku stuck his tongue out at Kyoka, who stuck out her tongue as well. Katsuki, Denki, and Hanta all came back down the stairs. Alright, who wants to lose to me? Katsuki shouted as he took his stuff to the biggest screen in the common. It was now almost 10 that night. Everyone sans Shoto spent most of the day in the commons, either chatting or joining in on Katsuki's games, most of which he won. Needy had become quick friends with Tsu, Mashirao, and Toru. Ijiro and Mina ended up joining what they named the Baka Squad, which was the name Denki gave to the group that followed Katsuki around to bug him. Gyro and Momo clicked and by late afternoon were best friends. Yui kept quiet for most of everything but did try to at least stay near everyone and participate, actually beating Katsuki in Tekken the one match she played to everyone's surprise, seeing as how she said she never played it before. Mezu did the same as Yui and really just stayed silent within the group, not taking to games much except for chess to Momo and Izuku's delight. Momo was surprised to see that Izuku, who she figured was trying to act cool but was hiding that he was just like Katsuki, actually turned out to be quite intelligent. She even thought he might equal her intelligence or be higher than her. She enjoyed how, unlike every other guy their age, he didn't stare at her mature body, instead always keeping an almost intense level of eye contact. Ochako became friends with Tenya, Tsu, and Aoyama. Tenya tried to keep everything in an orderly fashion, but it really is hard to control 18 other teenagers when you are the same age as them, and it seemed like everyone held the guy who wore sunglasses indoors in higher regard than you. Tenya did admit that Izuku did carry an unspoken leadership aura to him, even though all he did that day was show off some wings and play chess. It was late now, however, and the only people that could be found in the commons were Izuku, Ochako, Momo, Fumikage, and Mezu, who had turned on the news. Fumikage was sitting in a chair reading a book by H.P. Lovecraft. Mezu was sitting in the floor with his legs crossed, interested in the news. Momo was reading up on her encyclopedia. Ochako was on her phone while Izuku was lying upside on the couch beside her, using his mold to flow different shapes between his hands as a small exercise. Tenya walked over to the small group and spoke. Curfew is soon, fellow classmates. I am not sure if sleeping in the commons is allowed or even wise, so I suggest heading off to your rooms soon. I will be heading to my room once this report on this sludge villain attack earlier today ends. Mezu said. It shouldn't be 5 more minutes. Fumikage closed his book, wanting to speak to Izuku about the arcane nature of his powers, clearly having to wait for another time. I can read this in the morning. Fumikage made his exit, with the eyes of dark shadow peering out, watching the form of Izuku's legs draped over the side of the couch. Ochako turned to Izuku, who was busy focusing on the complex shape between his hands. Izuku, don't overdo that. I won't. Izuku yawned, the physical and mental toll of his practice wearing on him. Okay, see you tomorrow. Ochako got up to leave. See you tomorrow. Izuku yawned, almost losing his grip on the bright blue energy. After another minute, it was just Izuku and Momo in the commons. So engrossed in their own thing, they forgot the other was there. Soon it was almost 11 before Momo looked up at the clock and noticed how late it. She closed her encyclopedia and stretched as she got up. Out of the side of her eye she saw a glow and got curious. The glow came from Izuku's pocket, who she was just now noticing was in the commons with her, albeit he was asleep on the couch. Wanting to see what was glowing so intensely, she went over to check to see what looked at first glance like an outline of a triangle poking out of his pocket that was a crimson red. Something about the star was causing a feeling to stir in her, and it confused Momo, so she decided to ask Izuku about, deciding to wake him up since he should be sleeping in his room anyway. Midoriya, Momo said as she lightly shook him. Izuku opened his eyes, almost jumping up. What's going on? Izuku asked. You should really be sleeping in your room and not on the couch. Sorry, my mold practice apparently took more out of me than I thought. Izuku scratched the back of his head. May I ask what is glowing in your pocket exactly? I saw what looked like a star. Momo gestured to the bright glow from his pocket Izuku was finally noticing. Oh shit, the thing is glowing, Izuku exclaimed as he pulled it out of his pocket, the glow increasing as it moved closer to Momo, which they both noticed. Izuku moving it back and forth away from and towards Momo to test that theory. Why does it glow brighter the closer it is to me? Momo didn't know what his star did. I was supposed to give this to you, Izuku said, sounding like he was trying to remember something. What Momo has never heard of Izuku before today, and now he was apparently supposed to give her something. Izuku finally snapped to full focus. This is going to take a minute to explain, but I first need to know if you could keep a big secret. Momo saw the amount of seriousness in Izuku's eyes and wondered what sort of rabbit hole she was about to jump in. Tell me everything. Momo had a dilemma. All of the stuff Izuku had told her had surprised her to no end. He made her swear not to tell anyone what he told her and gave her a history of a different timeline where aliens invaded Earth and destroyed it, a battle in hell between one of Izuku's ancestors and the devil, how Izuku had taken up a task of recreating a literal street gang, and how an ancestor of hers had requested Izuku involve her in this mess. She wanted to scoff in Izuku's face and believed that it was an insane way of hitting on her. There have been multiple weird attempts, but this was completely out there. But the amount of seriousness in his eyes made her believe he was telling the truth. Momo didn't know what to say, and Izuku told her that she could think it over. Leaving her alone in the commons that night beforehand, she finally went to her room. It was almost time to prepare for the first day of classes, and she had not gotten much sleep, too busy stressing out thinking of every possibility of if she took the star from Izuku. For one, he wants to reform a street gang from a different timeline. That sentence alone could give most people a headache of confusion. Izuku didn't say he would be a violent thug like them, but will continue a legacy in their honor. Momo didn't know how to feel about the fact of having an ancestor that was Belgian and once an enemy of Izuku's own ancestor. Everything about this challenged her mentally, and that fact didn't sit well with her. Entering the commons to get breakfast fro the kitchen, she saw the sight of Izuku doing push-ups with Denki and Hanta on his back while Ijiro had Nito and Mina on his. May I ask why that is happening? Mashiro asked as he came down the stairs. Nito looked to Mashiro and shrugged. I was just told to sit here. Hanta spoke up. They both want to see who can do more push-ups with added weight. Keeping pace with each other, they are at 83 each currently. This is nothing. Ijiro bragged. I can do this with half the class on my back until class. I can do it with 2/3 of the class in my back until class starts, Izuku exclaimed. Kyoka came down the stairs and didn't even blink as she walked past the spectacle. Mashiro raised an eyebrow to Kyoka. This isn't a bit odd to you. Kyoka poured herself a glass of orange juice. Being friends with Glow Stick makes you soon not question things he does properly. This isn't even close to the middle of his weird stuff. Bit rude. Izuku hugged as he stretched out one arm and started to do one-handed push-ups, alternating every push-up what hand was in use. Step up to my level, dude. Ijiro grinned. He started to copy Izuku's new form. I love a challenge. Want this to be a challenge? Izuku raised an eyebrow. Hey Ijiro, can you join the people on my back? Mashiro blinked, not expecting to get pulled into the situation. Sure, great guys make room, Izuku said to Hanta and Denki, who moved to the side to make room for Mashiro, who looked confused about everything still. Oh, so we are upping the ante, huh? Ijiro sounded excited. Kodai wanna help me beat Midoriya? Yui looked up from her toast and shook her head. Class begins soon. We could start immediately on hero course training and you shouldn't wear yourself out. That is the most I heard her talk at once. She does have a point though. Izuku agreed. Alright fellas, I think I showed my superior physical prowess today. Tenya came downstairs stairs and saw Izuku wearing his gold necklace over his school uniform that was missing the red tie. I don't think the dress code allows jewelry. Izuku clapped his hands together. Shame that it is a family heirloom that I will not remove for a dress code. I think they won't mind. What about the sunglasses? Mina asked. These turn into goggles to help me see while flying. I'm good with the code. Izuku didn't want anyone to bring up his lack of a tie because he did not know how to tie one. Tenya started waving his arms around robotically to get everyone's attention moments later. We have 15 minutes till class begins, so let's all go in an orderly fashion to the classroom as soon as possible. Tenya tried to make everyone go in 2 lines, but that fell apart fast when everyone started walking by their new friends. Izuku kept to the back of the class where he dragged Nito away from Kyoka and Denki. And I found the morning star, Izuku whispered. Nito snapped his head to Izuku. They were here. Nito tried looking forwards at the rest of the class. Who? Yaoyorozu. I found out late last night. So she accepted the star. Not yet. She started asking me about the everything involving the star, so I ended up telling her pretty much everything else. Izuku heard Nito sigh. Did you tell her that this is all a massive secret? Nito didn't want everything to unravel. Izuku looked offended. Of course I told her it was a secret. I didn't tell her your identity or your own secret. She knows my stuff and that I have another ally. Just be careful with that stuff, Izuku. If stuff gets leaked, then everyone would go nuts about your power source. The information of a teenager having a powerful weapon that once belonged to the devil would cause such an uproar. Oh, that would be a big headache. Izuku didn't want to garner that level of negative attention. So have you said anything to Kyoka? Nito turned red. Shut up. Dude, you both were in the courtyard by yourselves for like 20 minutes yesterday after the rain stopped. Izuku leaned closer to Nito. You can't be telling me you didn't try to tell her how you feel. Nito pushed Izuku away lightly and huffed. I didn't. Izuku groaned. So you are telling me you can challenge a skyscraper-sized robot with your powers on the fritz but can't tell a girl how you feel? I'll tell her when you tell Yaoyorozu whatever the hell that was yesterday. Nito pointed at Izuku accusingly. What? Izuku was confused. Izuku, when she started to introduce herself, you didn't even blink and kept staring into her eyes. Nito saw that yesterday but didn't know when to bring that up. Izuku looked like he just got attacked. She has pretty eyes, that's all I'm going to say on the matter. Izuku's voice squeaked a bit louder than Izuku meant for it to be getting attention from Mina. Mina turned around. Who has pretty eyes? Mina asked at a level that got even more attention from half of the class. Izuku pushed Nito slightly. I blame you for this. Is there already young love in the air? Mina sounded excited as she started shaking Izuku. Who is it? I demand to know as the love expert. Yeah. Izuku didn't like that now most of the class was watching Mina shake him, trying to find out about his young love. I was talking about Paul. Izuku lied. Mina bore an intense stare into Izuku's own eyes through his sunglasses. You are a terrible liar, Midori. That's a wild accusation. Izuku finally stopped being shook. Midori, your eye electricity sparks up through your sunglasses. Mina pointed at his face. Well shit. Izuku couldn't believe his power turned into a tell for when he lies. So who is she? Mina started shaking Izuku again. Ashido, please release Midoriya before we get to the classroom. Tenya asked loudly. Not unless he tells me. I must make the romance flourish, Mina proclaimed. There is no romance, Izuku almost shouted while being shook by the pink girl. I just said I thought a girl had pretty eyes. That is the beginning of young love. Mina started shaking Izuku more, who started to shake Mina back. Who is it? Izuku screamed in reply. No one noticed behind the class a tired-looking man with an odd scarf watching them. Sighing, the man remembered what he was told by Principal Nezu. No immediately expelling students this year. They must have good reasoning for expulsion and not for the first few weeks. This bunch was louder than his previous 3 classes, and that thought alone gave him a headache. He wasn't surprised to see Nezu placing the one kid he actually made Nezu change the score if for the better in his class. He however now realized that the kid can be loud. Kyoka pulled Nito away from the 2 classmates shaking each other and towards her and Momo. Figured you would get a headache that close to them. Kyoka grinned as they left the 2 odds behind to get to class. I was actually this close to getting one. Nito held up 2 fingers that were pressed together. Kyoka laughed. Who was Izuku referring to anyways? Kyoka looked at Nito to look for his tell of lie. I don't think he would want me to say. Nito responded. After dealing with Ishido he will probably be annoyed about it being out. Come on, I thought we were best friends. Kyoka groaned. Yes, but it is Izuku's thing to say. Although it in my opinion should be pretty obvious. Nito didn't know if Kyoka noticed the dumb look Izuku had yesterday or not when he saw Momo, but Thar was the only hint he would give. If I say the person you gotta say yes, Kyoka said with her hands on her hips with a stern voice to Nito. I don't agree to these terms. Nito knew that Kyoka would notice his lying if he did. Don't care, Kyoka said. Was it Kodai? No, Hagakure. She's invisible. Oh yeah. Was it Ishido? That would be funny. No, why would that be funny? Somehow Mina was right behind them. Oh, how did you get there? Kyoka jumped. Midori wouldn't budge, so I decided not head to class and interrogate him later. Mina then narrowed her eyes at Kyoka. Why would it be funny if it was me? Because you were the one questioning him about it. Kyoka said. That is sorta funny. Mina let out a chuckle. That would be funny. Izuku walked into the classroom a second later and decided to sit as far away from Mina as possible. There was no seating chart, so he went for a back row seat, taking seat number 15. After sitting down he noticed to his left was Momo, reading her encyclopedia. Yurazu, Izuku said to get her attention. She looked up after finding a stopping point, looking nervous when she saw it was Izuku. Hi Midoriya. Momo knew he was going to ask about the offer. What do you need? Do you know who our teacher is? Izuku wanted to ask about the offer, but he wanted to give her time on it because he was aware of how crazy it sounded. Momo was surprised at the question and it showed. I don't actually know. Oh rats, guess we gotta wait to find out. Izuku then went to practice his molding silently in his seat, and Momo watched for a second, confused about why Izuku wasn't trying to ask her about the star. She shook it off and went back to reading up on her encyclopedia. Mina grabbed Nito suddenly and spun him around to face her. Monoma, I know you know. Mina thankfully for Nito wasn't shaking him like she shook Izuku. So tell me this and I will drop it instantly. Kyoka was interested in how Mina seemed calm all of a sudden, as if she knew. Kyoka faced Nito by Mina so she could join in. What? Mina leaned in and whispered. Is he sitting next to her? What? Nito turned to look at the seats to see that Izuku was indeed sitting next to Momo, both silently doing their own thing. He faced her again and noticed the intense look both Kyoka and Mina were giving him, as well as just now noticing the floating uniform that was Toru. As Toru repeated, Nito tried to hold an expressionless look. Why does it matter so much? Young love, both Mina and Toru said in sync. I just want to know. Kyoka shrugged. I'm not answering. Nito walked away to take the seat in front of Izuku. Mina faced Toru. You know what that means, right? It looked like Toru was nodding. Hard to tell with a girl that was invisible. We have our first case of confirmed young love. Kyoka looked at the 2 girls, who were now holding each other and squealing in excitement like they were stupid, or he just thinks she has pretty eyes. Both girls snapped to Kyoka. How would you react if a guy said you have pretty eyes? Mina asked. Kyoka shrugged. Probably not care. Hanta came out of nowhere looking smug. Even if it was our resident preppy blonde. Kyoka hated that her cheeks betrayed her with a slight flush the second she heard Mina gasp. More young love. Mina was bouncing on the S of her feet. Shut the up already, Katsuki shouted as he walked past them to take the seat in front of Nito. Bakugo, that is quite rude, Tenya exclaimed. Off 4 eyes, Katsuki scowled in response. Kyoka used this as her chance to escape Mina and Toru, taking the seat in front of Momo next to Nito. Quiet down everyone and sit down, a tired voice ordered as a tall unkempt man walked into the room. Everyone left standing rushed into a seat, while Momo closed her encyclopedia and Izuku shut off his mold ability. It took 6 seconds for you all to be in your seats and get quiet. Time is important and should not be wasted. The tired man pulled out a bag of gym clothes. I am your homeroom teacher, Shota Aizawa. Everyone put these on and meet me outside. Do not waste a single second. This is so much better than yesterday, Izuku stated, finding it odd that the ground they were on didn't look muddy at all. No more rain makes everything better, Katsuki grumbled. Today we will be having a quirk apprehension test so I can evaluate your quirks and see if you are even fit for the hero course, Aizawa said. Aizawa pulled out a base and a scanner. What about orientation? Ochako asked. I said time is important and I find orientation to be unimportant. Izuku, Midoriya, come here. Aizawa was standing in a white drawn circle in the dirt. Izuku came forward. What do I do? Aizawa loved how this was the first kid to not get nervous at being called out in years and was just ready to go. As the top scorer of the exam, you go first. Throw the as hard as you can with your quirk activated. Can I do it twice? Izuku didn't hesitate to ask. Why twice? Aizawa was about to lose hope in the kid, thinking he wanted a warm-up. So I can test my super strength and my green blast ability. That way I can test a theory about whether my green blast could be helpful in such a situation and plan accordingly in the future, Izuku explained. Aizawa found the first student he genuinely would teach with full effort, wanting to know his own skills to plan ahead, and seemingly understanding that a quirk is a tool. That works fine. Nice. So I can go whenever. Izuku saw Aizawa nod. Do whatever you need to, but don't leave the circle, Aizawa said. Got it. Izuku let his halo veins flood with energy, coming alive. Jumping on the S of his feet, feeling alive, Izuku smiled. Izuku wound his arm up and threw with his super strength. The rocketed out of his hand and quickly disappeared from sight. Izuku and the class looked at Aizawa, who was watching his scanner. Aizawa tossed another to Izuku. Your base super strength went 1028.7 meters. Neat, Izuku said as he started to pull energy for a green blast. He decided to test if he can send a second pulse to create supercharged blast without needing a blast from his other hand. He spun his arm and launched and it made boom as it launched away backwards from him. No one paid attention to it because Izuku screamed. Oh damn it! Izuku fell to his knees holding his left arm. Aizawa rushed over to Izuku to see what happened. What caused it? Aizawa could see that Izuku's arm had popped out of the shoulder socket. What bothered Aizawa was that Izuku was holding his elbow instead. The rest of the class ran over to show their want to help. I tried to that hurt, see if I could recreate my supercharged blast with just one hand. Izuku huffed. Normally I need to use two separate blasts that I could send out consecutively, but I wanted to try to make it one by making both energies bounce with each other down my arm. What happened was Izuku took a sharp breath. Jesus, his arm hurt. So when you tried to release it, all of the energy, no matter where it was in the arm, shot out. Momo finished for him, which means that Yushi really didn't want to finish that sentence because not how painful it sounded. What happened? Denki looked lost. He ripped every bone in his arm apart. Aizawa could see how Izuku's fingers were limp and going in weird directions slightly. Someone help him to the nurse. No, Izuku yelled. Midoriya, you are in too much pain and hurt your arm, Aizawa said with a stern voice, leaving no room for argument. Izuku, however, made room. If I stop at every injury, then I can't call myself a hero or a saint. Izuku used his good right arm to help him off of the ground. Aizawa made a mental note to find out what Izuku meant by saint. I gotta push past it and go plus ultra, give me another. Izuku held out his good arm. Izuku, your arm though. Katsuki actually looked worried seeing the arm that was turning purple. I can use my healing ability on it. Give me another. Izuku knew the landed by the other students and one of them had it. Midori. Mina had the in her hand. Are you sure? Yes, as sure as I am a saint. Izuku bit his tongue to not curse at how bad the arm hurt. He could only filter a little healing into it currently if he wanted to launch. As your teacher, I am saying you go to the nurse. Aizawa liked the kid, but he wouldn't put up with his defiance. Izuku looked at Aizawa and had a look in his eyes that struck a chord in Aizawa, the look of someone who is trying to prove themselves, not to anyone else, but to himself, which was something Aizawa related to. Please let me do this, Izuku pleaded. Aizawa kept his level look for a few seconds before he sighed. You get this one throw. Izuku nodded and Aizawa took the from Mina to give to him. Thanks, Aizawa-sensei, Izuku almost whispered. Izuku held the tightly and took a deep breath before he charged two different streams of his energy, intent on making a supercharged green blast with one hand. Instead of letting both energies bounce all around and releasing them at random, he let them both go separately down fluid stream that got to his palm at the same time. As he released the throw it, a sonic boom released and the was gone instantly, leaving a trail of smoke behind it. Izuku felt that the bones in his right hand had dislocated and he had a burn on his palm. Aizawa watched as the scanner gave him its results. 7.8 kilometers. Aizawa knew Izuku had hurt his right hand, but he let Izuku have the one moment to be happy, almost smiling himself as Izuku's smile threatened to break his face in half. That was so manly, Midoriya, Ijiro exclaimed. Izuku groaned as his healing power could only weakly heal both arms. He really needed to improve his healing. Midoriya, go to the nurse. Kodai, make sure he actually gets there before he dislocates another bone, Aizawa ordered. Everyone else, you still have a test and I expect as much effort from all of you now. If I see anything less, you will do it again and again until I believe you understand hard work and effort. Izuku tried to hold his limp left arm with his right, but the burn screamed at him to stop. Midoriya, Momo said, getting his attention. She had rolled her sleeve up and created a sling. This will help. She helped Izuku slide his useless arm into it, ignoring what felt like a glare and what sounded like Mina whispering to Toru about young love. Thanks, Yaoyorozu. Izuku didn't like that he had tears in his eyes right now because of his arm. He was supposed to be tough, damn it. Yui spoke. We should hurry so there aren't any negative effects. Right. Izuku started to follow Yui. The trip to the nurse office was relatively quiet until halfway there Yui spoke again. You lied, Yui said with no emotion. Izuku was wondering if she could speak with some at all. What? You lied about your healing. You were in pain the whole time. You didn't use any or you barely used it at all. Yui accused Izuku. That's Izuku got cut off. You don't have to lie to me, or should you when there is no point in hiding something that is plainly seen. Yui stopped and looked into his eyes with a calculating look. It makes the others worry, which will throw them off. Sometimes to stop and fix yourself up is better than to keep running and trip. Izuku liked it better when she was just the silent girl who beat Katsuki at Tekken once. Okay, I see your point. Izuku started walking again. I don't think it would have thrown people's game off that bad. You made the loud one Bakugo actually have an emotional state past swearing at everything. The rest of the class was in distress. Yaoyorozu looked like she was going to faint while describing what happened to your arm, same as Kaminari. Alright, stop making me feel bad. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. Yui knocked on the nurse's office door, hearing Recovery Girl say to come in. I'm trying to make you think things through in the future. Hello dearies, what is the need for a visit today? Recovery Girl spun her seat around to see Izuku's arms. Oh dear, you did a number on yourself. Sorry, I was testing a theory. Izuku waved to Yui who went to leave to go back to class. Recovery Girl studied his arm. Was the theory on ways to destroy your arm? No, I don't want to study that. Izuku chuckled at his own joke. Let me do a scan and I will see what to do. Recovery Girl said. Follow me. Dude, Midoriya's straight-up manliness has me pumped up, Ijiro said as he finished his 50-yard dash. It was so metal, Kyoka remarked. He's an idiot. Katsuki scowled, pissed off that his friend was reckless. How is he an idiot? Mashiro asked, wanting to know where Katsuki was going. He didn't use his damn healing shit like he said he would. He barely used so he could force more of his dumb energy shit into the second throw. How could you tell? Ochako asked. Because he gets that stupid pinkish red glow on him when he uses it. He didn't have much so he was only letting droplets do anything. Katsuki's scowl got worse. So Midoriya went all out through the pain, Tenya asked, gaining more respect for the guy. Like an idiot, Nito agreed with Katsuki. His friend did push himself too far. Or a badass, Mina said. That was kinda hot. Mina ignored all the looks of different reactions given to her. Are you talking about me? Izuku announced his return. His right hand had bandages while his entire left arm was wrapped in bandages and in a sling still. Shouldn't you be tired from Recovery Girl's quirk? Kyoka asked. I actually cheated that. Apparently my electric ability can be used on me to get myself going. I just can't use my electric ability for a bit. Izuku rolled his right shoulder. Let's do this. Aizawa narrowed his eyes at Izuku, considering ordering him to go back to the nurse or the classroom. Do not do anything like that for the remainder of this test. Got it, Aizawa-sensei. Izuku didn't want to test his luck anyways. You are the last one to do most things besides the endurance test and the throw for everyone else. Ida. Yes, Aizawa-sensei. Tenya stood almost robotically at attention. You mark people's throws with the scanner while I have Midoriya go through his tests. Aizawa handed him the scanner. Yes, Aizawa-sensei. Tenya nodded and had Ijiro go up to the mound. Turning to Midoriya, Aizawa spoke. I want you to carry that same moment of energy on the other tests. And my class. Yes, sensei. Izuku nodded. Good, now let your standing long jump. All Might was watching the class, making sure Aizawa would stick to Nezu's wish of no expulsions this year, worried about Nito and how he would undoubtedly snap his arm again with the power of one for all. All Might knew that Aizawa would be watching Nito for that power and his control over it. All Might wasn't expecting to see Izuku almost blow his arm off, however. But All Might hoped that would distract from Nito's inevitable arm breaking again. It didn't sit well with All Might that he couldn't do more to help Nito gain control of his quirk faster. Pretty decent distance. 78 meters. Aizawa wrote down the distance that Izuku could jump straight up into the air. The jump was overshadowed once you remember Izuku can magically summon wings to fly with. Pretty decent. Izuku felt that was an insult. Yes, not that was everything before the endurance test, and I will have everyone take that all together. Wait until all of the throws are over. Aizawa went over to check who was left, which was Katsuki, Ochako, and Nito. Izuku stood next to his friends and prepared to be yelled at. Izuku, that was completely reckless. Nito scolded. Are you okay? Ochako asked and Izuku nodded. Dude, that was awesome, both Denki and Hanta said. From the mound, Katsuki stared at Izuku. You're an idiot. The explosive team then threw with an explosion, yelling his fighting call. Die. Did he just tell it to die? Mashiro blinked. 778.4 meters, Aizawa announced as he wrote it down. Ochako stepped up to the mound and gripped it tightly. Momo tapped on Izuku's shoulder. Hi Yaoyorozu, Izuku said, enjoying the test. Momo hesitated for a second, looking unsure of herself. Can we talk when class is over? Izuku nodded. Definitely. Ochako had thrown the and gotten an infinity as her score because her quirk sent the into space, giving her the best score. Remind me to not let you touch me, girl. Denki made a joke to Ochako, who smiled. I mean, out of this world stuff is cool, but I do not want to be the literal thing. Nito, you are the last one before we do the endurance or stamina test. Aizawa handed Nito, intent on seeing if he could pull off using the secret quirk without shattering his arm. Nito held the as he made a quick plan. One for all will obviously destroy his arm with the loose control Nito currently over it. Perhaps he could turn on his ultra cloak and use it as a brace for his arm. Going with that, Nito channeled his ultra, the familiar glassy orange energy appearing over his body, but focused all of it to cover and strengthen his right arm. Taking a breath as he channeled one for all, he tried to only let in as much of it to equal his cloak, which he went over with his loose control. A golden orange glow appearing over his arm showing it was there. Throwing the it got thrown with force as it disappeared over the trees. Nito was proud that his whole arm wasn't shattered, but it did feel insanely bruised. Aizawa was impressed by seeing how he improvised another ability to prevent one for all from hurting him as much as it could. You have thrown it 4.58 kilometers, Aizawa stated as he wrote it down. If you need to go to the nurse, do it now or just wait till after the test. I'm fine. Nito was smiling intensely, proud of himself for learning a bit more control over the inherited quirk. Izuku smirked. Good job, and boy, what's with you two and hurting your arms? Kayoko wasn't happy to see the bruises on Nito's right arm. I still don't have proper control over the strength aspect of my quirk. Nito didn't like how Kayoko looked like she was about to lecture him. Don't overdo it before you have control of it, she ordered him. All right, students. Aizawa called for their attention by a fence leading to a track area. Now we test how long you can keep going. Aizawa wanted to know what those two were on. The endurance test would normally last half an hour, maybe closer to 50 minutes. But Midoriya and Monoma were still going at a good pace, while talking to each other no less. The last two students to finally give out were Yaoyorozu, who had created a bike to use, and Bakugo, who just looked angry the whole time. Those two had given out almost 10 minutes ago. So how long do you think you could last? Izuku asked his blonde friend. Maybe 5 more minutes. My arm is distracting me from wanting to do this, Nito answered. I could probably go 10. Izuku's arm wasn't bothering him anymore. It was healed up for the most part, but Recovery Girl wanted it to stay in the sling till he got to the dorms. Both of you can stop now, I get the point. Aizawa said. He wrote down the rest of the scores. All of you passed, showing that you have at least some potential. However, I expect that when we do this again come midterms, every single stat and number increases. Read the scores, memorize them, and raise them. Aizawa placed the paper with the results to Mezu before walking for the building. So how did everyone do? Fumikage asked. From the best down it is. Midoriya, Monoma, Yaoyorozu, Todoroki, Bakugo, Ida, Takoyami, myself, Ajiro, Kirishima, Kodai, Ashido, Uraraka, Asui, Aoyama, Siro, Kaminari, Jiro, Hagakure, and Mainta. Mezu, read out. How the did you get first place after you hurt yourself? Katsuki yelled at Izuku. Don't tell so close, Yui snapped, rubbing her ear. Don't stand so close then, Katsuki growled, even though he was last to get near Mezu to hear the scores. Saints always are on top, Izuku bragged. We're just better that way. Your secret saint's bullshit. Katsuki didn't like Izuku never told anyone what a saint was in his context. How is your arm doing? Kyoka asked Nito. It's doing okay. Probably after we are done with whatever else Izuwe-sensei has for us, I will get it patched up. Nito doing a motion with his arm to show that it was all right. You better. We don't need 2 Izukus. Yeah, one of me is bad enough for you guys apparently. Izuku said. Everyone, we must return to class. Tenya tried guiding everyone to head back to the classroom. Shoto glared at the back of Izuku's head, hating the obstacle in his path. The rest of the school day was spent seeing their other teachers for different subjects. 1A had present mic for English, Midnight for Modern Hero Art History, Ectoplasm for Mathematics, and so far Izuku's favorite teacher he has seen so far, Snipe, teaching a class on accuracy. Whether it is a weapon or a type of quirk, Snipe taught the students better accuracy. It was now the end of the school day, and Aizawa surprisingly pulled a sleeping bag out of his desk and got in it. So we can leave, right? Minoru was confused about if that meant they could leave early. Just read a textbook or a small quirk exercise until we do leave. Izuku shrugged as he went to sending a stream of small shapes back and forth between his hands with his mold ability. So what you two nerds always do. Katsuki pointed to Izuku and Momo. I am reading to better familiarize myself with more objects to create, Momo explained without looking up. I actually want to use mold better, so I gotta practice. Moving Ada away from a robot hand was my limit 2 weeks ago, and I have to have it get better. What does your mold ability do exactly? Fumikage asked him from his seat that was 1 seat up and to the right of Izuku. Create a form of energy that I have to stay in constant direct contact with. Causes mental strain if I use it too much. I can use it as a shield, but that can feel like someone smacked my over the head with a shovel, Izuku explained. He closed the connection to his left arm for the hold and had it stream from his right hand to Takoyami. It's solid, dense and lightweight pretty much. Fumikage hesitantly felt the light blue stream of energy that was in front of him. It cold and warm to the touch, and definitely solid but soft. Can you control whether it is soft or hard? I can make it almost like water. I wanted to see if I can use it to safely catch people, but Nito is whack. Izuku said. I'm not testing something like that with how you wanted to test it. Nito defended himself. Whack. Izuku went back to flowing the energy from hand to hand. How does your quirk give you so many different abilities? Mina asked. Everyone actually wanted to hear what Izuku would answer with, except Nito because he had known for years training with Izuku, and Momo since she found out the truth the night before. Both of them wondered how Izuku would answer, however. Izuku shrugged. Lucky genetics. Your abilities actually seem familiar. Sue pointed a finger to her lip. Oh, Izuku wondered how they were familiar. Like something I have seen on the news before. Sue mumbled. It suddenly clicked in Kyoka's head. Wait, you were that kid in the incident last year. What incident? Ochako asked. Oh shit was the current thing running through Izuku's head. If they saw that clip they would wonder about Johnny, the Saints, and all of whatever the situation was. Was I? Izuku asked. Ijiro smacked his desk. That's right, that event was really weird. Dude, I remember you getting a gun during that. What was with the portal thing? Hanta asked. Fumikage felt a stirring feeling telling him what that portal was exactly, and where it went. He has to make sure he speaks to Izuku about this soon. How are you sure it is me? Izuku tried to deny it. Kyoka held up her phone, which was loaded to the clip of the day Izuku fought Dex. Because they mentioned Saints, that green hair and purple clothing, and the blasts all match up. Would you look at that? Izuku squinted at her phone. That is a huge coincidence. Kyoka looked at Izuku like he was dumb. Okay, so what? I don't want to talk about that. Izuku stopped denying it. He still needed a way to get people to drop it. Wait, is that your grandpa you keep talking about? Ochako asked, watching the video herself at that moment. Wait, is this when? Yes, that's why I don't have Gramps around anymore. Izuku didn't like using a fake death, even though technically Johnny was dead but not from Dex. However, any reason for them to drop it helped. Plus, it wasn't really a lie. Johnny did have to left earlier than intended because of it, and that still sucked to Izuku, who was glad Mima was also really cool. Everyone stopped bothering Izuku because they didn't want to test how sore the subject was for Izuku. The class went through silence for the rest of the few minutes of school. Once the bell rang, Hanta and Denki were gone quicker than it took for Denki to use his electricity. Soon everyone in the class save two had gotten up to head for the dorms. Izuku looked at Momo, the only other person still sitting. So what's up, Yaoyorozu? Can we talk in private? Momo indicated to the desk where Aizawa was currently in the sleeping bag behind it. Pretty sure he is asleep, Izuku said as he looked towards their teacher. Somewhere else. Alright, let's find a place then. Just take a training room somewhere if it is tips for training. Aizawa sighed from his sleeping bag. Say I approved it or whatever. Soon they found themselves at Gym Gamma, a large empty building of cement that Cementos could use to morph many different obstacles and platforms. They were the only two in the expansive empty building. What's on your mind? Izuku asked, well, pretty certain he knew what they were about to be talking about. Momo didn't know how to start with what she had to say. I want to say she didn't know why it was so hard to say two small words. Take your time. Izuku flashed a smile to show support. I accept, Momo said firmly. Wonderful, Izuku clapped. That means this goes to you. Izuku pulled the star out of his pocket and gave it to Momo, the brightness of the star becoming blinding when she held it. What happens now? Momo felt something from the star, almost as if it was trying to touch her. I believe you just grab hold of it physically and mentally. Izuku remembered how he had grasped the halo for the first time. Okay, Momo decided to grab into the feeling that was there. What happened next surprised them both. I'm boo-oh-oh-oh, or Denki groaned while lying on a couch in the commons of 1AS dorms. Shut up and find something to do, then Katsuki snapped while playing a game with Ijiro. Why don't we all do something to learn more about each other? Tsuyu offered. I have the perfect idea, Mina announced. Bedroom contest. Yes, Toru shouted in agreement. Stop them, Ida, Kyoka pleaded. It would be rude to make our way into other classmates' rooms, Tenya said. So only people that are fine with it. Mina shrugged. This could help us see into the lives of our classmates and bond. I see your point, Ashido. Ada nodded. Kyoka looked betrayed. So we are having a bedroom contest, Mina shouted again. And Denki nodded. Soon most people had agreed and started to follow Mina, who had named herself the bedroom queen judge. The only 4 people who stayed out of it were Katsuki, who said they would die if they touched his room, Kyoka, who was still embarrassed of her instruments, Nito, who was at the nurse, and Shoto, who was in his room and not even there to know about it. First off, we will start on the girls' side because ladies first. Mina led the group. Nothing happened at all. Momo was wondering if Izuku was actually pulling a very elaborate prank on her just to make her look stupid. Nothing feels different, Momo said out loud. Izuku touched the star. That's odd. Izuku tried to pry the energy of the star with his own and noticed the large gap of sheer potency and size of the energy. Maybe it was supposed to be given to you earlier than this and the battery is low. I have an idea. Izuku leaked out some of his own energy and gently forced it into the energy in the star. Nothing happened for a second before the energy inside the star exploded into activity. Oh, Momo squeaked as she felt the star flood her with the energy, making her feel more powerful than she had ever felt. Yay, it's nice like that. Izuku grinned, remembering how good it felt when he got the halo. The star disappeared with a flash, but Momo could feel it inside her, as if it was a part of her. What now? Well, since we have a big empty place to ourselves, you want to test your new powers. I figure Mr. Lauren might have left you more than a simple cloak. Momo nodded, eager to test the new skills in her arsenal. Last girl's room. Mina stopped the group in front of Momo's door. Any objections? Mina was waiting for a response from Momo, thinking she had come with the group. Arazu isn't here, Suyu pointed out. Whereas Momo, Mina wondered where the smartest girl in class went. I don't think she even came back to the dorms, Hanta said. Probably somewhere reading her encyclopedia. Achako offered. Makes sense. Denki nodded. Or she went right past us. Wait, where is Midoriya now that we are noticing missing people? Minoru wondered where the other purple-loving kid is. Mina immediately gasped. Young Love. Hutsuyu asked. How is two people coincidentally not being here? Young Love. Call it a second quirk, but I can feel this sort of thing, Mina said with assurance. I will bet money they are in one of their 2 rooms together. I'll take that bet, Hanta said. Me too, Denki added. Doubt it, but I will join in on betting, Kyoka said. Great, now let's invade Momo's personal space. Mina smiled. Ashido no Tenya tried to stop her. So that is everything I can think of in advance for your healing and cloak, Izuku finished explaining. Try to make a layer of energy like a piece of armor over your whole body. Okay, Momo pictured surrounding herself with the energy and tried to will the energy to do that. A almost glass-like layer of red energy similar to Izuku's was now covering her entire body. I think I got it. That's good, you got that part fast. Let's see if you can use a blast with it. Try to throw some of the stuff like a base at this. Izuku used his mold to create a circular flat piece that was as big as his midsection. Momo tried to throw the energy, but the aim was off and she threw it at the wall behind Izuku, having a small piece of the wall smack Izuku's back. Sorry, no reason to be sorry. We are trying to get you accustomed to your abilities. Izuku waved off the accident. Hold on, see if you can shoot it. Like, point your palm at me. Well, the shield? Momo straightened out her arm and aimed to the shield, pushing the energy out. A blast shit out that made Izuku almost drop the shield upon impact. Started to pour out of Izuku's nose. Oh my god, are you okay? Momo didn't know how to react to hurting Izuku. Izuku waved her off. I'm good, I think. I just can't break more of those. Okay, so instead of a proper blast attack, you have a beam, I guess. That hits like a cannon, so we should find a way to weaken it so you don't destroy everything. Try just using a finger. Izuku made the cracked shield fix itself and shrink to the size of Izuku's hand. Momo looked at the point of that left Izuku's nose and was on his lower face. But what about? I can actually use my healing later. This is actually perfect for me to get better with it. In fact, every time we train from here on, we should try to lightly injure each other so that our healing abilities get better, Izuku said. Okay. Momo didn't like how he was willingly hurting himself all day in the name of progress. Just use any finger. For all we know, each finger has a different level of strength. Momo nodded and pointed her index finger at Izuku's mold, flowing her red energy into the appendage. A smaller beam shot out at the shield. Okay, so my guess was right. It is weaker. I guess that the more fingers you use, the more powerful the blast, and your palm has the strongest blast altogether. Izuku released his mold because it was giving him a headache. Do you know what else I might have? Momo liked her beam attack. It could come in handy if someone was too far away and she was low on fat cells for her quirk. Honestly, I figured exactly what Philip said was what you would have, but you can't really do a blast and instead have a beam. Maybe me jump-starting it with the halo changed it up. Let's see if you got super strength. Izuku held a defensive form. Come at me and try to let the energy just vibe while you do it. For my super strength, I can just turn in the halo veins to have all of that active. Wait, so are your muscles for show then? Momo asked. Izuku looked offended. No, I work out in my natural state too. I recommend it because it helps your powers if you have a higher level of normal. So I just let the energy vibe. Momo was confused. Don't think too hard on it. Just punch me and let your base energy stuff be out. Izuku fixed his stance. Okay. Momo went to punch Izuku, the red glow of her right arm flashing as her fist made contact with Izuku, launching him backwards onto the floor. That was unexpected, Izuku said as he got off of the floor, grinning. Sorry, I didn't mean to let more slip. Momo was embarrassed. What do you mean? That flash indicated energy was acting in the punch. That is your base strength. Nowhere near mine right now, but it is way higher than I thought it would be. This means I can skip some plans of training you up. Izuku didn't stop grinning as he explained. Try to run as fast as possible towards the back wall. Momo turned around to see the way other side of Gym Gamma. A good distance that would make a few minutes to get to the other side. Really? Yep. Trust me, jogging 50 laps around a big beach every day is worse than this. For now, just run to the far wall and sit down if you need. Izuku started doing leg stretches. Momo did similar stretches and then began to run. Letting the energy do its thing in her, it felt nice. Before she knew it, she had to stop before she ran into the far wall that she was surprised she was already close to. Not bad. Seems like either my halo made your stuff more potent or left an imprint of some of my stuff. Izuku was beside her, not nearly as winded as her. So my super strength and super speed are higher than you thought. I can't use a blast and instead have a beam, and how does my cloak work exactly? Momo was ready to go again. Like a shield. You know how my mold can take hits in my place? Your cloak does that for a few hits before it needs a recharge. You can make only part of the cloak beyond and fortify it to be stronger if you can react to a hit quick enough. I don't have a cloak like you or Nito. Monoma is the other person, Momo asked. Not really as surprised because it was either Monoma or Bakugo really. Oh shit, I forgot I didn't tell you yet. Izuku laughed at his slip. Anyways, yeah, he is. But you seem to have better control over everything quicker than him, and it seems like more ability. So maybe I should be your number 2. Momo joked. We can see about that later. Izuku wasn't against the idea, but Nito fits the spot well. So will I get glowing stuff like your halo veins on me permanently? Also, Momo really didn't want to have glowing vein-like marks and such all over her body. Not saying she thought they were bad, because in her opinion they looked good on Izuku. Izuku shrugged. Pretty much every case, which is just the 3 of us, is unique, so hard to tell. I have a halo that has, as I have been told, basically too large of a power source and energy to be properly valued. The only limit for me is how much I can handle at that moment. Nito's is limited in how far it can go, and his actually has to do a full recharge if he uses it too much. Philippe made it seem like he took notes on the altar pin and made the Morningstar star better. Only way for you to find your limit now really is to do a spar, but it might be getting late soon. Let's do the spar now, Momo said. I want to catch up. She felt like all day she was watching the gap between Izuku's skill and hers plus everyone else's was being shown to get bigger. She didn't want to fall behind. Izuku grinned. Alright, I will teach as we go. Izuku channeled his halo veins to have green blast at the ready. Spiky hair wasn't in her room, so what Katsuki didn't care about the whole class bothering him. He really wanted to just play Tekken. Neither is Midori, Mina said. And you are the closest one to him that is here right now. Worthy as the Ing arm breaker, Katsuki was actually surprised Nito wasn't at the dorms yet. He still hasn't shown up front from the nurse's office. Kyoka said, wondering where her favorite blonde was. You did good today, Nito. Toshinori praised in his weakened form. I saw you use that cloak of yours as a brace for your attack to take away some of the damage. Quite clever. Nito was beaming at the praise. It still hurt, but at least I didn't shatter my arm again. Any progress is good progress. As your control over One for All increases, you should have to worry about busing your other powers as a brace less and less. Should One for All affect my quirk and powers more as I get better with it? Nito wanted to know if he should expect another quirk shutdown like at the entrance exam. Toshinori rubbed his chin. Truth be told, I have no idea. Your pin powers are a wild new subject in the terms of quirks, and how it should interact with One for All is a mystery. Your regular copy quirk is also a mystery to me because I was in fact quirkless when I got One for All. You were quirkless? Nito actually found that surprising. Yes, my teacher and the one who passed me the torch of One for All loved my passion and drive dispute not having a quirk and took me under her wing. Toshinori seemed more distant when he recalled his teacher. Nito stopped for a second, thinking again about all of the parallels between his teacher and best friend. Izuku and Toshinori were both quirkless and given a power to help them achieve their dreams. It crossed Nito's mind for an uncounted time on how he still had doubts about himself getting One for All instead of Izuku, who seemed to fit more into a hero. Dispute his weird behavior he picked up as a saint. Toshinori was unaware of the resentment Nito was having grow in him, thinking he had helped to get rid of it a year ago. Nito, would you like to have tea with me before you head back to the dorms? Toshinori offered. That would be nice. Nito hoped that he could get rid of his feelings of doubt soon. So your beam can stop a blast mid-air, Izuku remarked as his aforementioned blast exploded in between the two. So it seems. Momo was enjoying their spar, testing out how their powers interacted with each other and how she could improve hers. Can it stop two at once though? Izuku charged up a green blast in each hand and threw them simultaneously at Momo. Momo used her beam to knock one out of the air but missed the other, not good yet at firing at two different objects at the same time. As it came close, Momo noticed how suddenly everything felt really slow around her. The blast seemed to slow to crawl through the air at her, and Izuku dropping down to the ground from being in the air was taking way longer than it should have, especially since he didn't have his wings out at all. Momo used her cloaking ability on her stomach where the blast was going and fortified it to negate any force from the blast, and suddenly the speed of everything turned to normal. The blast hit her fortified stomach and Izuku finally touched the ground. Nice reflexes, Izuku remarked. Time stopped, Momo said while trying to explain to herself mentally what just happened. Izuku got rid of the blast he was going to use. What do you mean? Time didn't stop, I mean. Momo shook her head. Either I was thinking and acting really fast or everything else slowed down. Izuku thought that must have been a pretty weird experience. Could be an ability. I don't think I could have moved as fast during it, but I could definitely think normal. The experience was odd. Maybe it's a reflexive ability that kicks in to help you react to things around you. Gives you time to think up a plan in a moment where you could use one. It activated to help you not get hit badly by my blast. Izuku liked the idea of essentially a bullet time ability that could help me decide what to create with my quirk during the here of the moment. Momo was thinking through all of the applications of this new ability. Let's try to activate it again. Alright, Izuku charged up 2 more blasts. These won't hurt bad at all, they'll just feel like I'm tapping you. Still try to dodge them, of course. 4 hours later they both were lying on the ground and Jim Gamma breathing heavily. You do stuff like this every day? Momo was flat out exhausted and didn't know if she could even get back to the dorms before she went out like a light. Every day, Izuku huffed, not wanting to tell her he kinda overdid himself just to impress her. You can join me anytime. You're insane for doing this to yourself and I am going to definitely join. Momo didn't want to look weak by denying his training offer. That makes you insane too. Izuku chuckled. I didn't take a halo that belongs to the devil, so I'm the sane one here. You accepted a magic star from a kid who claimed to have been to hell and has something that once belonged to Satan. Izuku argued lightly. You broke your arm twice in the last month. Technically today all I did was pop every bone apart from each other. Still stupid. Thought we were talking about how insane I was, not how stupid I am. That's a whole other debate. Izuku sat up. It's almost 10, which means if we don't get back Ada is going to flip because he became a den mother. Momo tried to sit up and yawned. Too tired. I could sleep here. Izuku stood up. I don't think the pretty girl should sleep alone on a gym floor, so come on. Izuku offered a hand to pick her up without realizing he called her pretty to her face. Luckily Momo didn't notice either and took his hand. I can just carry you on my back and fly to the dorms, Izuku said as he helped her get situated between his 2 just summoned wings. MMK. Momo mumbled. While you are really tired, maybe we shouldn't overdo it tomorrow, Izuku remarked, though we should keep it the same. Momo yawned again as she rested her head in his shoulder. I'm ignoring the person who is mostly asleep right now, Izuku said as he stepped outside to see how dark it was. Do you think I would get shot out of the sky if I fly too high? Momo didn't respond. Don't fall asleep, Izuku groaned, quiet enough to not actually wake her back up. Izuku was tired himself and talking to someone would definitely help him stay awake since he didn't want to risk flying anymore. Testing whether the defenses of UA would shoot him or not was something he didn't want to do yet. Izuku got rid of his wings and started walking back to the dorms with Momo snoring lightly on his back. Soon he saw the building and worried about seeing the lights on in the commons, wondering how badly people would yell at the 2 of them for disappearing all afternoon without a word to the others. Thankfully the front door was still unlocked and he carefully opened it without letting Momo slip at all. Where the have you two been? Katsuki yelled, startling Izuku, waking up Momo and announcing to pretty much everyone in Japan that they just entered the building. Too loud, Izuku responded. Where have you two been? Tenya asked. It is 2 minutes till curfew, so we had 2 more minutes then, Momo mumbled, not liking that she was woken up. We were training. Momo wanted tips and I obliged. Izuku wasn't technically lying. Mina narrowed her eyes. Then why are you carrying her like that? She wanted to know when Izuku and Momo got on a first-name basis, but now was not the time. Tired, Momo yawned. We overdid it training. So shush so she can sleep, Izuku said as he started walking past people for the stairs. I'm taking her to her room and then I'm kicking someone's ass for making burgers and not telling me. Training up till curfew, Ijiro whistled. Man has drive. When did the teachers say we can use the training grounds? Denki asked. They probably asked Izuwe-sensei after class. Suyu began to leave for her room. I suggest we all leave before Izuku starts yelling when he gets back down here, Hanta said as he made his exit. Izuku opened Momo's room door. Alright, time for you to get off of my back. Too comfy, Momo mumbled in her sleep state. While I am sure I am comfy, you are so tired you can't even make whole sentences. So I am going to take that with a grain of salt and drop you on this overly massive bed that takes up like 80% of your room. Izuku started to slide Momo onto the bed. You can sleep in your gym clothes for all I care. I carried you here, but I am not going near that stuff. Izuku began to leave. Bye, Zoo. Momo finally fell completely asleep. Izuku basically slammed his way down the stairs into the commons. Alright, whom the made burgers without telling me? Izuku shouted to find out no one was even in the common. Damn it, redemption and forgiveness were things not foreign to him. But on this level he doubted he himself could do anything to get either from the person with whom he wanted it. Hearing of the fiasco last year about Johnny Gat and his descendant being sent down to hell, where he has just left, was pretty much the only talking point anyone made for a month after the event. Gaining more info on the situation from an understanding Dane Vogel made him realize he could have the slim chance to make his line be on the correct side of history this time around. Luckily, Dane thought to help him and he was given specific instructions: bro, meet with Izuku Midoriya, the descendant of his once enemy in life Johnny Gat, and give him a box. What it had meant nothing to him. He found out that his descendant was actually in the same area as Izuku, thanks to a compass given to him by Vogel. He had planned on simply giving advice to his line to guide it to the right path. But with the badge he was now holding, he could make his line even more of a powerful ally to the Saint's descendant. The next morning, the kitchen of the dorms of Class 1A could be described as hectic. You four eyes, get out of my kitchen, Katsuki yelled at Tenya. This is not your kitchen and I need in here to make breakfast. Tenya didn't know why Katsuki was always swearing and being rude. That's why I am in here, dumbass, Katsuki snapped. Go to the ing table and wait, shithead. Tenya was actually surprised when he noticed that Katsuki was easily making enough breakfast for all 20 of them. The amount of pancakes and bacon he had cooking. You don't need to be so rude about it though. Out of my kitchen before you get none, Katsuki ordered. Why are you screaming? Kyoka didn't like how loud he was being. This is not screaming. This is screaming, Katsuki shouted. All of you get out of my kitchen. Stop, Yui said as she walked past the kitchen area. Surprisingly to everyone, Katsuki looked at her for a second and then went back to cooking. He didn't swear or even scowl at her. Are you a Katsuki whisperer? Mina asked. Yui looked at Mina. I told him to stop, that was it. Why is everyone being loud down here? Izuku asked as he came down the stairs. Midoriya, it is good to see you are up on time despite your late time returning last night, Tenya said. Thanks. Izuku was confused. Curfew for the dorms was 10 p.m. He got back with Momo at 9:58 p.m. So how was training? Mashiro asked from the table. I haven't seen a training regiment that could leave people so tired like you and Yaoyorozu. Minoru squinted his eyes at Izuku. Was this even training or some other type of activity? The implication went over Izuku's head. What other activities would we be doing? Mina gasped. Young Love Toru also gasped. No, Izuku cut them off. We were training because she saw my drive and skill and figured I had some training I could pass on. Mina had a look of disbelief. PFFT, okay. Then why did you carry her back here on your back? She was really tired because it is some intense training, Izuku said. Minoru pointed a finger at Izuku. That sounds like you did stuff. Izuku wanted to smack his head against the table. Yay, training. What are you assuming? That you rocked her world, Minoru said. The table with 17 of the 20 students went dead silent after the accusation Minoru implied. Izuku narrowed his eyes at Minoru. If I did, which I did not, it wouldn't be any of your business. Are you saying you're trying? Minoru asked. No. Izuku was close to chucking a green blast at the purple S-haired midget and calling it a day. Why not? Minoru seemed offended. She is the hottest one here. Every female shot a glare at Minoru for what was a ist comment. Dude, I want to chuck a green blast at you, but I might hit one of the girls when they beat your ass, Izuku remarked. Minoru for some reason ignored the females and continued pestering Izuku. So you don't think she's attractive, are you? That struck a nerve with Izuku. I'm not, and that shouldn't matter. Of course I think she is attractive. Momo has the prettiest eyes I have ever seen. I have what? Izuku didn't want to turn around and see Momo, not knowing how long she has been there. However, seeing Mina look at him with a big happy smile and stars for eyes was the worst of the two. Izuku turned slowly and waved. Hi, Momo. Momo's face was beet red. Hi. Mina was squealing. All right, heads, here is breakfast, Katsuki announced, breaking everyone's attention from the situation. Izuku thanked God for Katsuki in that moment. Yours better not waste anything. Katsuki set down more plates. Izuku didn't like how the only seat left for Momo was right next to him. He only disliked it because it felt awkward, and Mina kept giving a thumbs up and a smile. Holy shit, this is good food, Denki exclaimed. Without the rude language, this is quite good indeed, Bakugo. Tenya nodded. Shit, I know. Katsuki looked smug as hell. It is delicious, Yui said, actually having a ghost of a smile, a rarity on the normally expressionless girl's face. You will be a lovely house husband for a hardworking hero, Izuku joked. Why would I be a house husband? Katsuki snapped. Because your wife works hard and needs a hearty meal when she gets home. You glow stick. Right back at you, Sparkler. Hey, I just remembered something, Toru said. Midoriya, why do you have a Ouija board in your room? Izuku's ran cold, and Nito and Momo both were surprised. Why were you in my room? Izuku asked with a bit of worry and also some anger that they were in his room. We were trying to see if you were here last night, Mina answered. And you went through my box. Izuku was getting a bit madder. That big leather had all of his stuff from his grandfather and the saints. Mina shrank in her seat. Sorry, it was a weird and curiosity got the better of us. That is everything I have ever gotten from my grandpa. And it is my legacy, so I would appreciate it if you never touch it again. No one had actually seen Izuku get close to anger before. Everyone actually noticing how the purple part of his halo veins around his eyes actually sparked. Izuku calmed down. They didn't know. Nito tried to defuse Izuku, knowing his temper could get violent. Izuku just sighed. Don't touch my stuff again. We're sorry. Toru and Mina apologized. I am going to make sure none of it is out of place. Izuku stood up and went back upstairs. I've known him for weeks and have never actually seen him mad. Kyoka said. Did you see how the purple veins around his eyes started sparking? Mashiro asked. I thought they were about to catch on fire, Denki exclaimed. I didn't know he could get mad. Because US messed with his shit, Katsuki said as he ate a piece of bacon. He won't care about most shit, but you messed with the shit he got from his grandfather. I don't know much about his grandfather or his saint's business, but it is sensitive and he clearly doesn't like the fact that you all messed with it. Nito raised an eyebrow. How many of you were involved? The only ones who entered the room were me, Toru, Kaminari and Shiro. Mina answered. Why rat us out? Denki asked. I was safe. May I ask what happened exactly to his grandfather? Tsuyu asked. Everyone ended up looking at Nito, because they knew he is the closest to Izuku. Nito sighed, not wanting to involve himself in this stuff that was becoming gossip almost. He didn't want to answer. However, he figured the others would pester him more later on if he didn't. Well, that news thing you guys found out about yesterday started it. After the portal thing happened, a bunch of other events happened where they went, and at the end Izuku had to say bye to his grandfather. Like it happened in front of him, Tenya asked. Nito was uncomfortable dancing around the fact that it wasn't Johnny dying in a traditional sense but walking through a door to his afterlife. Izuku did take it hard, however, because Johnny made up for the absence of Izuku's real dad, which was a subject even Nito didn't know about. Yes, I'm pretty sure Izuku blames himself for how some of it happened. Nito nodded. Which is why you don't mess with his grandfather's shit, Katsuki said. That guy means more to him than everyone but his mom. Even his dad, Denki asked. Katsuki stopped eating and looked at Denki. I will only say this once for all of you to hear. You will never make any sort of reference to Izuku's real father at all if you don't want me to use my quirk on your face. Everyone stopped at the threat that Katsuki gave, clearly serious with what he just said. What happened? Nito knew it was a bad subject, but he still wanted to know. Katsuki looked at Nito. Well, I am surprised he didn't tell you I still carry that threat. That is something that should not be brought up at all. Shoto sat in wonder, trying to find out what could cause Izuku to have such a bad history with his father. Nito was wondering why Izuku never mentioned it to him at all and why Katsuki knew. Why do you know though? Nito asked. Katsuki almost looked sad. Because I was there to see the fallout. I am not proud of how I treated Izuku over the years because I definitely didn't help, but I am nowhere near as hoary. Katsuki stopped talking for a second, regaining his posture that he was losing as he spoke. You know what? Not my place to speak. A minute later Izuku came back with a nosebleed. Izuku, you're bleeding. Momo created a piece of cloth to give him. I'm fine. Izuku shrugged off. He looked at Mina and Toru. Please don't go through my stuff anymore. Katsuki did a wave with his hands as if to say I told you so. What did you do? Momo made him take the cloth regardless of if he would actually use it. Izuku didn't want to get her mad at him. Broke my mold. Nito narrowed his eyes. That will leave mental damage. Why did you do that? Bite me, Izuku replied. I'm going to class early. Izuku left the dorms. Momo looked at the door concerned and decided to leave him be for the moment. Is that forgiving us? Mina asked. He doesn't seem completely fine. I said give it a minute. He probably left right now because everyone was watching him for a reaction. Katsuki said. I would have left too. Or start screaming at us. Denki muttered. What the was that? Pikachu? As the class filtered into the room, they saw Aizawa sleeping at his desk and Izuku using his mold at his desk. Momo was glad to see that he was using the cloth now to clean his. Midoriya, when are we going to have our push-ups rematch? Ijiro said as he walked through the door. Izuku smiled. When you get more muscle. Low blow from the guy who broke his arm yesterday. Ijiro grinned. All right, once we get back to the dorms, Izuku stated. 5 people minimum on each of our backs. Only 5? Ijiro asked. Trying to go easy for you. Oh, I thought it was you taking it easy for your arm. PSSH, if that makes you feel better, I'll break my other arm so we will be even. Izuku said. How is your arm? Momo asked. Izuku rotated his arm. It's fine. Nito looked at Izuku after a minute and got his attention. What made the mold break? Izuku made sure no one was listening, then spoke. The board was being a dick and also said something about demonic change. It was just annoying. Don't risk mental damage because of a board. Nito scolded. I guess. Izuku. I know. Izuku drew out. All right, class, sit down. Aizawa said. It scared everyone how they never noticed him get up. Before proper lessons begin, I am letting you know that today is going to be your first day of your Foundational Heroic Studies class. Bet Denki and Hanta high-fived. After all of your other lessons, of course. Oh man, that's it for your regular classes. I am going to leave before it gets loud in here. Aizawa yawned. It amazed the class how he was always tired. Once Aizawa left, the class interrupted into 7 different groups of conversation. How are you, Momo asked Izuku. Bored and excited for our first hero training class, Izuku said. Momo stared at Izuku. You know what I mean. You broke your mold purposely this morning. Izuku should have figured it would be Momo who scolded him on it. Probably would have been easier to say he had butted a wall. I'm fine. Are you? That was more than before. Momo didn't like how he ignored every single instance of pain to himself. Yes, I'm sure. Izuku reassured her. I will try not to ruin how comfy I am. What? Momo looked at him in confusion. Oh, you don't remember that, do you? Izuku asked her. What happened? Momo felt like she was about to be embarrassed. I am. A voice came from the doorway, coming through the door like a normal person. All Might, the class said in shock. There stood All Might, the #1 hero in Japan, in his Silver Age costume. Yes, it is me. All Might smiled. I am your heroics teacher, here to teach you the ins and outs of being a proper hero. Awesome, Hanta said. Dude, this is going to be so cool. Denki grinned. Indeed it is. All Might pressed a button. We shall be doing battle trials today, but I believe you will need these for this class. 2 panels opened on the inside wall of their class to reveal 10 cases in each panel, labeled from 1 to 20. Based on notes and forms you all gave us, we have made your very first hero suits. They are the same number as your seat. Suit up and meet me at the gate of ground beta. Izuku loved his look. They managed to take his notes and implement them to perfection from what they were when he gave them to the school. Purple boots that went up half of his shin with dark green soles that he could store energy in for an extra jump. Purple metallic material pants that had pads on his litter upper thighs that he could store energy in for later use. A thick belt with a holster for his personal pistol. Purple vest with a high collar with green lining that could absorb a good amount of shock for him. A nice purple jacket that was made of the same shock-absorbing material with green lining, and a gold chain holding it together in the front with the saint symbol on each side, and thick purple gloves that had more green lining and absorbing material to help brace his hands for his heavier hits. Top that outfit off with his necklace holding the saint symbol and his sunglasses, and Izuku had to admit he looked like a total bad. And sorry to put this in the middle of the chapter, but if you want a visual for Izuku's hero suit, it is the sim suit from Saints Row IV with the primary color violet 7, the secondary color gray 9, and tertiary color green 7. Meeting with his classmates, Izuku had to admit some of their design looked cool. Tenya looked like a robot knight. Kyoka looked like she was ready to jam out with a rock band. Izuku wanted to know why Minoru's outfit had a metal diaper-looking thing. Nito went with a fancy suit with an orange tie, and he also had his altar pin attached to the coat. Momo's outfit made Izuku forget how to think. Izuku knew that her quirk required the objects she creates to pop out of her skin, and that means she would probably not be as clothing heavy as someone like Izuku or armor heavy like Tenya. But she was wearing a sleeveless crimson leotard that was open down the middle to her navel, not leaving much to the imagination, which didn't matter to Izuku because his brain forgot how to function at the sight of her. She also had 2 yellow belts with multiple pockets around her waist and another around her shoulders. For footwear, she had calf-length crimson heel boots. Momo noticed all the looks she got from the guys and ignored them, except when she saw the stupid look on Izuku's face, which made her smile and blush. Izuku, close your mouth, you're drooling. Kyoka joked. Hiwa, Izuku mumbled. Hey, stupid. Kyoka smacked his face lightly. Izuku straightened himself out. I'm good now. Sorry about that. Izuku wanted to see if he could make a green blast strong enough to knock himself out until everyone forgot that just happened. Now that Izuku didn't have a dumb expression, Momo got a better look at his outfit, liking how it fit him enough to show his muscles underneath. Mina saw the looks the two were giving to the other and nodded in approval of the young love. Midori, it is rude to state at a lady in such a matter. Tenya said. Sorry, I Izuku started. I love her boots and was wondering if I could work them just as good. Are your legs nice? Denki showed his support. I hope they are, Izuku said. If not, I got nothing going for me. Hey Izuku, why does your outfit have 2 mesh slits in the back? Ijiro said from behind him. My wings. Did some note-taking, and I can use my power to basically make my wings push that stuff out of the way to come out. Hell, my whole outfit in some way is made to be used by my power. Izuku turned on his halo veins, and the groves in the outfit also filled with his energy as well, almost mirroring his normal halo veins with extra bits. You make me proud as a twinkling buddy, Aoyama said. So do you, my guy. Beautiful cape. Izuku liked the purple cape Aoyama had. It truly is marvelous. Aoyama agreed as he waved the cape. All Might opened the gate to ground beta. Alright class, today we will be doing battle trials. Battle trials, half of the class asked. Yes, we will be doing a mock simulation of an event that happened back in my days in America. You will be split into teams of 2 at random and will either be the hero team or the villain team in the situation. All Might explained. Why at random, Tenya asked. That's probably because a situation could happen at any point and you might have to team up with a random hero to handle it. This is a test of how we can operate in a team on the spot with only a little bit of thinking ahead of time, Izuku said as he started to check his gun. Is that a gun? Toru asked in shock. Yeah, don't worry, I can't kill anyone with less than a good couple of shots. This is set to stun anyways, Izuku said as he showed the dial on the side locked to stun. Young Midoriya, you are correct in your explanation of the reasoning of the random teams. You will all draw lots for what team you will end up on, and I will draw another slip to decide if you are the heroes or the villains. This exercise is indoors, as most of the time the crafty villains will find a way to battle you inside of a building, so the villain team will get 5 minutes to prep the building with traps and the like to prevent heroes from doing their heroics. What is our heroics? Nito asked. Why, the heroes must either capture both villains with the supplied capture tape or have them incapacitated, or the main objective of getting their hands on a bomb the villains have stashed in the building that the villains must defend. Prep phase will be 5 minutes and action phase will be 10 minutes. The test of the class will be with me watching as you go the exercise, watching and learning what went right and what went wrong. Both teams will have mics to talk to each other, but the viewers can hear everything once the action phase begins. Any questions? No one actually raised a hand, which made All Might happy. He was afraid he would butcher his first day as a teacher. Excellent, now let's draw lots. All Might had them draw lots for teams, and he didn't reveal who had who until he had the heroes versus villains part of the test. Alright students, here are the teams. All Might showed them the list. Match 1. Heroes, Kirishima and Aoyama versus villains, Asui and Gyro. Match 2. Heroes, Todoroki and Hagakure versus villains, Mainta and Ashido. Match 3. Heroes, Monoma and Kodai versus villains, Siro and Bakugo. Match 4. Heroes, Ada and Denki versus villains, Ajiro and Ochako. Match 5. Heroes, Midoriya and Takoyami versus villains, Yaoyorozu and Shaoji. Alright everyone who isn't part of match 1 of Follow Me. All Might started to lead them to the viewing room. Midoriya, Fumikage said, it is nice to have you as a partner. It really was, because this gave Fumikage the perfect chance to ask Izuku about his powers. Same, Izuku grinned. We're last also, so we can definitely devise a good plan. It does give us a good opportunity. Fumikage nodded. He'll ask Izuku in private on the way to their match when the time comes. Dude, I am so psyched right now. Ijiro pumped his fist as they waited outside of the building they were to enter when told. I can't wait to dazzle everyone. Aoyama was also excited. Alright, let's get a plan going. We gotta start these off on a high note, Ijiro asked, not wanting to mess up their first hero training course. Well, I believe that we should have you be in the front, due to your quirk making you a hard tank, while I use my laser to hit them when they get too close to me or taking you, Aoyama said. Ijiro nodded. So we go together? Nice. We should keep that going until we find a good chance to get the bomb. I doubt anyone would put the bomb on the first floor, so should we really search there? That line of thinking is what they might share, which means they will put it there maybe as a trick. Right, so we check everywhere no matter what. As heroes we should not make assumptions because that could be dangerous. So what's the plan, Tsu? Kyoka asked. Tsuyu put her finger to her mouth, which Kyoka saw her do multiple times, so probably just a thing Tsuyu does while thinking. Hero, I think that we should go to one of the higher up floors to buy a little time and use your quirk to listen for when they get closer, Tsuyu said as she looked at the bomb, which was a large paper mash looking nuke almost. I like it. So when they get there, how we will engage them? Kyoka picked up the bomb. Thankfully it was lightweight so they could carry it upstairs with them easily. I will try to stick to the ceiling by a staircase unseen. You let me know when one gets close and I will wait and attempt to quickly snare one with my tongue and then capture tape, Tsuyu said as they made their way to the 4th of 5 floors of the building. I can maybe help with that by sending out a pulse of sound to throw off their sense of direction. However, sending one in such a small area that is a bit away from me could throw my own senses off for a second as well. Only do that when you are absolutely sure that you will be okay. Tsuyu made a ribbit, which to Kyoka was just a normal thing at this point. Wanna place bets? Izuku said in the viewing room as they watched the two teams in multiple camera make their plans with no audio yet. Gambling is wrong, Midoriya, Yui said. Gambling is not bad prospectively, Izuku said. Out of all the things he could have picked up from the Saints, gambling really was low on the list of what. Just don't place money on it and we're fine really, Nito said. That takes some of the fun away. Izuku groaned. No gambling in my class. All Might said. Fine. Well, I believe out of the two teams it's gonna be the villain team to win, Izuku said. Reasoning? Momo asked. She had similar thoughts, but she wanted to see what Izuku was thinking also. It takes away the charm if I say everything right before it happens. Izuku pulled out his gun again to start messing with it. Begin the action phase. All Might's voice cut through the speakers in and around the building. Let's do this. Ijiro practically charged into the building. Searching the first floor, they had Ijiro check every room with Aoyama having his laser at the ready. Nothing of any sort was there not the second floor. Getting to the third floor, Ijiro was itching for any sort of action. Aoyama, I don't think they are on this floor. Ijiro didn't get a response from Aoyama and turned around to see that the twinkling kid was not there. Aoyama. Suddenly it felt like Ijiro was being vibrated and spun around at the same time. Ijiro activated his quirk out of instinct and felt something wrap around his midsection, keeping his arms at his side. Villain Time Winds All Might spoke over the speakers. What Ijiro was completely confused. That was fast, Mina said. Soon all 4 of the people from match 1 were in the viewing room. Alright students, who was the MVP of this match as well as what went right and wrong? All Might said. Momo raised her hand. The MVP would have to be Tsu. Her plan worked and they even modified during the action phase to take advantage of what the other time did wrong. And what did the heroes do wrong? Izuku spoke first. Kirishima got tunnel vision of heading straight into everything while Aoyama stayed a bit back, which Kyoka picked up on with her quirk and let Tsu know, and they took action to use the opportunity against the heroes. I also agree that Tsu was MVP because she made a good plan that used both her and Kyoka's quirk smartly. They played perfect defense, but it might have been different if they were on offense. This is all true. Young Kirishima and Aoyama, your plan was okay in a situation where the enemy wouldn't come after you, but you should always have a plan that can be used in any situation. Having one person charge in first with a second person using a long-range quirk is not good planning in most situations. All Might lectured. He turned to the villain team. Young Gyro and Asui, you both made a great plan and showed how well you both can work together in a defensive position with good communication and excellent response to changes in the plan, even if it was to just attack them earlier. I award young Asui as MVP. Tsu let out a happy croak and beamed at being MVP. Wish I bet money on it, Izuku muttered. Next we have match 2. Get ready to go, children. So what is our plan? Todoroki Toru asked. She got no response but a small look from Shoto. We need a plan, not a look. I'm invisible, not a mind reader. Shoto looked irritated. Just stand there when the test starts. This is a team effort, Toru said. She doesn't have much to offer to the team physically, but she was invisible. She was figuring that Shoto, with whatever his quirk was, could get the other team's attention. She assumed his quirk had to do with ice since his hero suit covered his entire left side with it. If you go in there you will get affected also, so just stand there when it begins, Shoto said. Toru let out a HMMPH and sat on the ground in annoyance. First off, Minda, what you said this morning was very rude. Mina whacked Minoru over the head. Oh sorry, Minoru rubbed his head. Second thing, how many of those can you pop off? Mina pointed to the S on his head. Right now I can do 100 on a healthy day. Minoru got whiplash from how quick she went from scary to this. Healthy day, Mina was confused. They grow according to how I am physically that day. Like if I have a cold, maybe 50 max. Can I have one to test something? Minoru picked one off of his head, it being replaced almost instantly. Sure. Mina used her acid to see that it does in fact melt his ass. Nice. Okay, I have a plan and it relies solely on your ass. Minoru tried to his laughter at the way that sounded to no success. Okay, that was kinda funny. Mina realized what she said could have also meant. Okay, start placing them over there. In the security room, Izuku was using his mold to make a seat. Won't that make you have less later? Fumikage asked about the seat. I can't always rely on one ability and I will be fine. Alright class, what do you think about this match? All Might was curious on why it looked like Toru was sitting down. Hard for him to tell when she was invisible and her hero suit consisted of just shoes and gloves. A fact that meant she was naked that All Might did his best to ignore. Nito got to speak this time. I don't know what Todoroki's quirk is, so this is going to be off probably, but based on the setting up we can see on the villain side, I think they have this. I don't know, Hanta said. No one can stand there and look so sure of themselves without confidence. Or arrogance, Izuku countered. You're one to talk, Denki said. You always say how you're awesome. Last thing I said was last night talking about how insane I was to Momo. Izuku replied. You guys say I'm cool more than me sometimes. I think that Ashido and Minta will win, Momo said. They are working together and Todoroki doesn't seem to be communicating with Hagakure. Wanna place money? Izuku tried to get everyone to gamble. No gambling, everyone said. Alright, the action phase begins, All Might announced. Shoto took one step forward with his right foot and ice started to cover everything in front of him, including the whole building. Too easy, Shoto remarked as he walked inside. That's a lot of ice, Izuku remarked. Imagine how much he should make off of making snow cones. What just happened? Minoru shouted as ice covered his legs up to his knees too thickly for him to move his legs. Ice, Mina shivered. This wasn't good. Neither of them could move at the moment. Luckily they set up on the 5th floor so they had a bit of time. Mina started to use her acid on her calves to free herself. Minta, wait one moment and I will get you. If they come, get them instead. Minoru didn't want them to lose because he was stuck with no way out by himself. One leg free, Mina clapped and started working on the other. Do your ass work in the cold. Minta ignored any jokes he could have made and nodded. They lose stickiness quicker. How many do you have left? I lost count, but probably 10. Perfect. If I can't get you, just use them to stick them to the floor. It's kinda poor choice making to walk around to the top floor like Todoroki. They will get out before he gets there, Ijiro pointed out. He probably doubts anyone could break out of his ice quick enough, Izuku said. Ashido didn't mention her quirk being acid the other day. Todoroki had a smug look as he got to the 5th floor. He could see the S from Minta's quirk frozen underneath his ice, so he knew this was the correct floor. All he had to do was walk past them and touch the bomb and he would pass this trial. Finding the correct room was also easy as he could see that the S seemed to be more focused around one doorway. Too easy, Shoto repeated. He entered the room to see that it was empty. What? You're too cocky, Mina said as she burned a rope with her acid. A trap opened above Shoto and released a bucket that was filled with Minoru's S and Mina's acid. A harmless version of her acid used to keep Minoru's S from sticking to the bucket. The S fell on Shoto, sticking to him and rendering his right arm useless as it was now stick to his. Gritting his teeth, Shoto stomped and sent a wave of ice at Mina, who narrowly dodged it. Mina threw acid as a feint to make Shoto move to his right, which he did, and Mina went low and gave him a sweeping kick, knocking him off of his feet. Young Hagakure has been captured, All Might announced. This just got a bit harder for Shoto. Shoto created ice to prop himself back up and sent out another bigger wall of ice, this time getting Mina's left side. Mina couldn't move anymore but still sent out a splash of acid to keep shot back. Shoto dodged and made more ice to keep Mina's other arm down. He used the capture tape around her. I will thaw you out when I win. If you win, Mina said. Young Ashido has been captured, All Might announced. Once Shoto entered the building, Toru exhaled in annoyance. This is a team test. Toru crumpled as she began to sneak in, using her invisibility to her advantage. When Shoto went towards where there were more S on the 5th floor, she had second thoughts. It seemed quiet and too obvious to just set the S up like that. Hearing a sound in a room on the opposite side of the floor, Toru made her way over to see that the bomb was actually in that room, with a waiting Minoru. Toru was about to turn around and get Shoto, but she heard Mina. You're too cocky, Mina said to Shoto. That meant that Shoto was busy with Mina. Toru decided to go for the bomb. Taking off her gloves and shoes, she was now completely unnoticeable unless you heard her. She snuck into the room and wanted to scream because she forgot about the ice, and now her feet were freezing and leaving noticeable prints from her body heat on the ice. Hagakure Minta saw the footprints. He jumped up, having been freed from the ice by Mina. I'm not letting you through, hero. Someone is getting in the spirit of villainy. Toru snorted. You came in all wrong, Minoru said. Could have snuck through a window and grabbed the bomb from behind me, but you came in front of me where I was watching. You think I can climb 5 stories, Hagakure said. Not really, but I know you can be stalled, Minoru said as he jumped to his side, at her where he figured out she was. He had it in both hands. He managed to get one on her stomach and wanted to pump his fist. He spun her around quickly and pushed her to the wall, where the on her stomach stuck her to the wall as well. But Toru was embarrassed at how easy it was for Minoru to pin her. Young Hagakure has been captured, All Might announced. That counts, Minoru was surprised. Yes, that counts. Minoru and Mina actually had a shot. Young Ashido has been captured, All Might announced, crushing Minoru's hope. How was he supposed to fight the guy who was a recommended student? Minoru slapped himself. Mina put in too much effort for it to fall apart because he flipped out. He had to keep calm. It was possible for him to capture Shoto with his S, and he had 8 left. He has a chance. A wave of ice shot through the room and Minoru barely got behind a pillar to save himself, a cut now appearing on his costume above his right calf. Minoru took a deep breath. It was hard for him to stay calm when the other guy can just send wave after wave of ice. Minoru heard footsteps, and through a reflection in some ice he could see that Shoto no longer could use his right arm for the moment. All Minoru had to do was stick Shoto's other arm to his side and get him against a wall, and he could win. I can see you through the ice, Shoto said as he sent another wave of ice at Minoru. Minoru noticed that Shoto only used his right side for ice. Perhaps the other side didn't use ice, or it was a preference. Minoru dodged the ice and threw 2 of his S at Shoto, one hitting Shoto's knee on the inside. If Minoru could get him to accidentally make his other knee hit, he would not be able to walk well at all. Minoru decided to do a bold move. He threw it in front of him and got a running start. The hit the ice and slid a bit before sticking, but it didn't need to stick for Minoru to use it. Minoru jumped on and it bounced him over a wave of ice that Shoto sent out, sending Minoru straight at Shoto. Minoru held 2 S in his hands and slammed into Shoto. Shoto was surprised after he sent the wave of ice to see the small purple-haired boy leaping at him. Not reacting quick enough, Shoto fell over, feeling his right arm stick to his side and his legs get stuck together. Todoroki has been captured. All Might sounded a bit surprised as he announced it. Both heroes have been captured. Villain team wins. Minoru started crying in joy. Once the participants of match 2 returned, All Might began the judging. First, what went good during this match? Ashido made a good plan that worked even after the ice was first put into play, setting up some of Minta's S to make another room look like the one they were using for the bomb instead of the trap was genius. Tenya loved watching that match. It was a roller coaster. Minta's quick capture and his staying calm despite being unevenly matched in the end was great, and it helped him secure the win. Izuku added. Minoru was smiling and liking the praise, as was Mina. Indeed, the plan and execution despite the odds shifting with the action phase were excellent. Both of them staying calm in an overwhelming situation is something that all heroes should have. All Might praises the two, who were smiling even more if that was possible. Now what went wrong? Katsuki actually spoke. Ice Boy was an arrogant dumbass. Language young Bakugo. All Might warned him. Oops, sorry. Katsuki actually apologized for his language to everyone's shock. He was told sure of himself to even make a plan with his partner. Invisible Girl could have helped him when he got stuck with Pinky, but she went alone to find the midget who was waiting. Midget stalling slightly to find where she was sneaking was good, and the use of his quirk to capture both should have been expected. They're sticky as to everyone but him, a perfect trap quirk. I should have just sent another freezing layer over the floor to capture the midget because he would have needed Pinky to get out of the ice again. Katsuki ranted. Everyone was surprised to hear praise from him and actual criticism without his normal mouth. Shot was pissed he actually lost, and everyone said it was his fault. He was aware now of how he messed up, but hearing it his judgment was irritating. Well said, young Bakugo. Class, who do you think is MVP? Minta, Ashido. The class was split down the middle. It should be Ashido, Minoru said. He liked the praise, but he still thought Mina deserved it. It was her plan, and without her I would have been stuck in ice. It should be you, Mina argued. You captured both of them. No, it's you. No, you. No, you. No, you. No, you. How long do you think this will go on? Izuku chuckled. You both have wonderful spirits, All Might laughed. Why don't we put it to a vote? They both nodded. All Might took the vote and counted. Well, it is young Ashido with 11 of you and young Minta with 9. All Might stated. Minoru nodded. You deserved it. Mina smiled and pouted at the same time somehow. I know, but you still did too. Now on to match 3, All Might announced. So what's the plan? Nito asked the stoic Yui. She looked at him oddly. I actually figured you would make the plan. Oh, you know both of them better, so your insight would be best. You're to the point. Let's see. Katsuki is very aggressive with his fighting, so he will probably be going after us. So Hanta is going to guard the bomb. So we should take out the loud one first. Yui referred to Katsuki. That or be fast enough to get past him. That's going to be difficult. We could split up. I deal with Katsuki and you go to Hanta and the bomb. Yui shook her head. Splitting up should be a last resort if it isn't necessary. Can I borrow your quirk? Nito asked. You raised an eyebrow. I figured you would have room it regardless. I have respect of other people's quirks. How do you copy it? All I gotta do is have physical contact with you to do it. Nito held up a finger. Yui poked it with her own finger. Like that. Yeah, I got it. Nito felt the instinctual knowledge of the quirk register in his head. Do you know what those grenade gauntlets do for Bakugo? Nito thought about the huge grenade bracers Katsuki had. Probably a bigger explosion. That's why I needed the quirk. I can probably get in close and use it to get them away from him. I can help with that. Yui nodded. Can I have your capture tape? Nito thought it was odd for her to have all of the tape but nodded, giving her the capturing tool. What's the plan? Bakubro Hanta asked. You stay here and guard the bomb. I go after them. I don't doubt Preppy Boy and the princess are planning on that, so I will blindsided them with a new trick. Princess Hanta didn't understand the nickname for Yui. Yeah, she acts all stuck up and cold like a princess. Pretty sure she's just a cuter. Hanta shrugged. He is a cuter. A person who seems cold and blunt but in the inside is very emotional and caring. Why would you guess that? Well, she does fit that description. She actually does smile sometimes. You're just too busy screaming at everyone to notice. I don't scream at everyone, Katsuki shouted. Yeah, you don't. Hanta's sweat dropped at the fact that Katsuki did just scream. Back to the trial. So I guard this bad boy and you go istic on them. Yes, thought before we start, All Might asked the class. This is actually tough to call. Nito can pack a punch for a minute with his strength and he can take Katsuki's quirk if needed. But that might not match the amount of instinct band experience Katsuki has with it. Hanta can definitely prevent people from getting close to the bomb. Kodai hasn't shown much yet, but I can tell she thinks things through and is probably crafty. Izuku said. He grinned. I can't wait to see this go down. Action phase has begun, All Might announced over the speakers. Let's go, Nito said as he turned on his cloak, showering himself in an orange glassy field of energy. Yui nodded and grabbed his back like they planned. Nito focused his entire cloak to his legs as well as one for all and jumped. He used enough force that the ground cracked and the two of them flew up over the building. Luckily, Nito didn't overshoot the necessary amount of energy too bad, and all they got was a slightly uncomfortable landing on the roof. Let's not do that again. Yui looked dizzy from how fast it happened. Nito checked his legs and was glad to see that he didn't destroy or even badly bruise them. I didn't harm them as bad as we thought. Yui nodded. Alright, let's see if this plan works before Katsuki realizes we decided to go around him. Nito out his hands on the door into a stairwell and watched as he shrank the door enough for it to break off of its hinges. Catching the door before it fell and made a sound, he gave Yui a thumbs up. That's one way to enter the building. Denki remarked. Kinda risky with how Monoma can't control that monster strength of his. Ijiro said. It was a good but dangerous gambit. Mezu agreed. Katsuki was standing on the stairs that lead up to the 3rd floor wondering where the hell Preppy Boy and the princess were. Katsuki would obviously put it higher, so they should have passed him by now. Where are you two? Katsuki glared down the staircase. It just clicked in his head that they might have guessed Katsuki would confront them and went around him. Those two better not get past elbows. Katsuki ran back upstairs. I believe it is that room over there, Yui whispered as she pointed at a room that was almost central of the top floor, with only one door to go in and 3 closed walls. That makes sense if Hanto is guarding it. Less room for people that come at him from. So how do we get in without being obvious? Nito didn't want to lose their cover by straight charging Zero. Yui looked at the side hallway to the room. I have an idea. May. Alright you where are you? Katsuki yelled as he stepped onto the 5th floor. Nito's head drooped. Shit, he found out. He doesn't know we are right here. I suggest that you go to your idea and I stall. Nito shot out of hiding, leaving a miffed Yui, annoyed that she was interrupted but understood it was Katsuki they were dealing with. Hey Katsuki, Nito yelled from around a corner from the explosive teen. Your pancakes sucked. They didn't, but he needed Katsuki's undivided attention. And that was what he got. The did you just say? Katsuki shouted as he ran towards where he heard Nito, hands going off with explosions. Nito ran the opposite way from Yui and then spoke again. And your bacon was burnt. You. All Might felt his eye twitch. Was his prized pupil really using breakfast as bait, and was Katsuki really falling for it? Nito jumped over some boxes to avoid Katsuki, who was faster than Nito and catching up quick. Get back here, face, Katsuki exclaimed. If you want to talk shit, say it to my face. If I want to talk shit, I would talk about your food. Nito figured he should stop taunting Katsuki at this point. Ahhhhhhh, Katsuki screamed. Ahhhhhhh, Hanta heard Katsuki yell from his defensive spot. What is going on out there? Hanta felt like it was definitely best for his safety to stay in the room. Yui wanted to roll her eyes at how easy Nito had goaded Katsuki. It made it easier for her to sneak around the side of the room to see if her guess was right. And it was. Some of the wall actually had cracks in it. Yui could use her quirk to shrink the broken parts of the wall and be able to sneak in behind the bomb. Yui hot started on making her new door. Get back here, ass, Katsuki yelled as he shot around the corner. Nito didn't have anywhere to go, so he had to turn and face Katsuki. Hey Katsuki, what's up, man? Katsuki growled and pointed at Nito accusingly. Take back what you said about my cooking, bastard. Oh, that Nito didn't know why he was acting like Izuku all of a sudden. I mean, I could if you got better. Katsuki narrowed his eyes. Good thing I have this trick to teach you a lesson. Katsuki rushed forward and pointed his palms at Nito, letting off explosions. But instead of his normal explosions, they were almost like flashbangs. Ah, what the hell? Nito couldn't see. I took a note from Izuku on making my suit adjust my powers. Katsuki explained. These gloves of mine can help me make my explosions all blast, sound, or light. Nito felt Katsuki lay a punch into his stomach and panicked. He couldn't fight without his sight, although anything was better than just letting Katsuki knead him up. Throwing a punch in what felt like Katsuki's direction, he felt a metal object. Nito must have hit his collar or grenade cannon. Grabbing whatever it was, he charged up energy and spun to throw it. He heard a thud indicating that he successfully threw Katsuki. Where's the princess? Katsuki asked as he got up. Who? Nito asked. Quiet girl. She is obviously not here, stupid. So what is she up to? Katsuki let off more of his regular explosions to push Nito back and bruise his arm. She went downstairs. Nito brought his cloak up to hinder some of Katsuki's explosions. Don't know why I bothered. Katsuki growled as he swung the capture tape and threw it over Nito. Nito attempted to get out of the tightening rope, but Katsuki headbutted him, disorienting him so the tape could get tied. That's for disrespecting my cooking, Katsuki said as he ran back to Hanta and the bomb. Nito definitely regretted baiting Katsuki like that. However, he was glad that Katsuki left quick and tied the tape close to his hands. He quickly made the tape grow before he could be disqualified using Yui's quirk, effectively freeing himself. Oh, I am going to feel that later. Nito groaned as he stood, his head throbbing from Katsuki's headbutt. Yui heard the sounds of explosions getting closer and quickly flipped herself into a corner to not be seen. Katsuki barreled past where she was making a hole in the wall. Katsuki stopped and turned around to look at the half-done hole. Either you're close or already in there, Katsuki mumbled. He did a quick scan to see if she was in the area, and to Yui's fortune he didn't notice her. Where are you? Katsuki went around a corner. Once he did, Yui slipped out of hiding and started to make more bricks shrink. Ing knew it. Katsuki's voice broke Yui from her work. Yui turned to see Katsuki grinning like a madman by the corner he had just left the area from. Pretty sneaky, but I wouldn't leave a thing like this hole unguarded for more than 5 seconds. Yui decided not waste time trying to fight Katsuki and pulled a metal sheet from a pouch on her belt. She held it in front of her and made it grow fast, making it so big it dug into the floor, walls, and ceiling. Yui had made a wall between her and Katsuki and quickly went back to opening the hole more to get in the room, hoping Hanta didn't have the common sense to check where the sounds were coming from. But the Katsuki yelled at the wall of metal that cut him off from Yui. Now he would have to go the whole way around the Ing building to get to her. Elbows paying attention. What do you think I am doing? Hanta shouted back. Nito didn't feel like sneaking back into things and focused a bit of one for all into a punch. He threw the punch at a wall to the room and the wall broke inwards with force. Yui finally made the hole big enough to jump through when tape shot out of the hole and yanked her in. Hi Kodai, Hanta waved as he held her upside down with his tape using a pipe in the ceiling as leverage. Suddenly a wall shattered in and Nito was holding a bruised fist. Katsuki heard a wall get broken down and decided not hurry up through the maze of halls to get back around to the bomb. Die, Katsuki shouted. He blew up a wall with a blast. It was not the wall to the room with Hanta and the wall, but he was getting closer. He only had to break 2 more walls before he was in the room he needed to be in. I think this just got way more interesting. Izuku commented as plans by both sides were forgotten about and all 4 were in the room with the bomb. Hey Katsuki, Nito said. Figured I might now apologize for disrespecting your cooking. It was amazing, top-tier stuff, unbeatable. I already know that. Katsuki ran at Nito, ready to use another flash on him. I'm still going to beat your ass for the disrespect. Hero Team has secured the bomb. Hero Team wins, All Might announced, making Hanta and Nito confused and Katsuki skid to a stop. Katsuki glared at the spot where he just saw Yui hanging upside down by tape that wrapped around her midsection. Instead, only seeing her shirt, Yui was standing shirtless with a hand on the bomb. You all were looking the other way, so I took an opportunity, Yui said with her neutral expression, slightly red because all she had on her upper body was a sports bra at the moment. Can I have my suit back? Hanta's brain started working again and he brought it back down, noticing that she must have made it grow in size to let her slip out. Here you go. Hanta looked away. Katsuki glared at Yui. You only won because I was focused on dumbass over here. Katsuki didn't stop acting normal just because a girl had a shirt off for a moment, although he did look once or twice because after all he is a teenage guy. Once Yui had all of her stuff back on, she shook her head. No, I got the bomb because your partner was distracted. Katsuki narrowed his eyes at Hanta. Why weren't you even watching the princess? Yui had the red return to her face when learning that the normally rude or descriptive nicknames Katsuki gives to people, and he gave her the one princess. Hanta looked sheepish at that moment. Sorry man, Nito broke a wall. You broke more walls and I figured having her tied with my tape up that high made her out of the running. Katsuki wanted to yell more because he hated the fact that he lost, but it made sense and Yui wasn't gloating about it. That's fine, but don't get distracted again, dumbass. Let's go get our judgment. All Might smiled at the returning group. They didn't seem to need his help finding their way back and made sure each other were fine. All right class, tell me what went right and what went wrong. Katsuki raised his hand. First person involved in the test that was being evaluated to actually want to say something about it. From what I gather, they had a plan to sneak past me because I am known to be somewhat aggressive. Everyone wanted to correct Katsuki's misworded somewhat. I figured that out fast after not seeing them and went to go cut them off before they got the bomb. Preppy might have jumped the gun by trying to bait me and wasn't prepared for my flashbang. Princess stayed calm even when I was right in front of her and acted fast to make a wall in front of me that in hindsight I should have blown to bits. What went right was her staying calm and taking an opportunity when the biggest thing to go wrong in our test happened, which was Preppy breaking down a wall that made me get even more impatient and break down more walls to get there in time, which we both shouldn't have done. Elbows should have paid attention to her and making sure she wouldn't slip out by taking off the top of her hero suit. In my opinion, Princess should be MVP and all other opinions are invalid. Katsuki finished his lecture. That was well said, young Bakugo. All Might praised his evaluation skills. No one else added anything, thinking either Katsuki said enough or didn't want Katsuki to kick back into screaming mode. Then young Kodai is MVP of match 3. Yui let a small smile grace her face. Thanks, she said to Katsuki. Well, whatever, you did good. Katsuki brushed it off. On to match 4. Tenya paced back and forth in front of the building, his calf engines eager to go off and help him and Denki this match. Alright Ada, what's the plan? My guy Denki was also itching to get going. I believe that we can do this really fast with heavy use of my quirk, but we will have to do our best to not get close to either Uraraka or Ajiro. Tenya got started. Uraraka's quirk to take away our gravity will definitely put us on the captured list, and Ajiro is a practitioner of martial arts that boost his effectiveness of his tail. Letting them get close to us is ill-advised, and the same could be said about them getting close to you, because I can shock them. Denki nodded. Wait, I have a really dumb but also really smart plan for this. It's all based on chance, so it is risky. Tenya was eager to hear it. Go on. So what floor should we set up on? Mashiro asked. Let's go set up past where Katsuki and Nito broke the walls. The walls weren't cleaned up, so it should make Ida slower, Ochako said, feeling nervous about her match. That's a great idea. Mashiro picked up the bomb, which was lighter than he originally thought. We have a problem with him definitely being faster than us. Kaminari's electricity makes him someone we shouldn't get close to unless we can be sure of our timing. I have another idea. Ochako spoke. Ida is fast, but I am sure I can take him out of the match once it starts. Mashiro set the bomb down and looked at her. Let's hear it. What is everyone's thoughts on match 4? All Might asked. Everything is going to rely on Ida, Izuku said. His speed is unmatched by the others, but if Ochako gets lucky and touches him, it's a 2-on-1 against Denki. He can only shock so much in a little amount of time, and Ochako and Ajiro could figure that out fast. Ajiro is the best fighter, I believe, but Ida has faster speed, and I have no doubt that could match him well against Ajiro. Pikachu could shock anyone who gets close, but then he will have to deal with the other person who could use his downtime as their time of attack, Katsuki said. Kirby isn't stupid and knows about his downtime, but they still need to worry about Four Eyes first. Since when can you speak without foul language? Kyoka asked, still bothered by him speaking like a normal person. Off Ox Cord, Katsuki shouted. Please don't yell, Yui said, who was next to him and not liking how loud he got. Before Katsuki could say anything to Yui, All Might spoke. Again, watch your language, young Bakugo. Katsuki held an irritated look on his face. This is a very big risk, Kaminari. Tenya had to admit that Denki had a big point with his plan. Are you sure? Oh yeah, man, I will be fine. Denki tied half of his capture tape around his waist, leaving the rest hanging. Dude, this is like a big 50-50 chance, and I believe that it'll go our way. All right. Tenya still had doubts, but Denki's confidence helped diminish them. Match 4 begins, All Might announced. Let's do this. Denki ran as fast as he could. Ida ran behind him, using his engines to make it seem like he was running faster with how loud the engines were going. As they got closer to the building, Tenya skidded to a stop before entering, following Denki's plan. Denki ran into the main door of the building and felt a pair of hands touch him and his gravity leave. Denki twisted as Hao went up towards the ceiling and saw Ochako, who was surprised to see that she had grabbed Denki, clearly expecting Tenya to be the first in the building. Hey Ochako, Denki smiled as he made a finger gun at her. This must be shocked. Denki shot some electricity at her, hitting her in the shoulder and effectively stunning her. Now Ida. Tenya jumped in through the door and quickly tied Ochako up before she could react. Young Uraraka has been captured, All Might announced. Denki smiled, seeing his plan work. He guessed they might expect Tenya with his speed to be able to charge right at them, but instead got Denki and his electricity, which he could use under the effects of zero gravity. Awesome. Hey Tenya, I think she is too stunned to release me. Good thing you used your tape on yourself. Tenya was surprised that Denki's plan worked. He was not one to lie and would admit that under first glances Denki appeared to be not as smart as the others. Tenya grabbed the leftover tape that Denki left hanging and pulled Denki down from the ceiling, almost like a oon. Just tie me to your back, man, Denki said. I can aim shots of electricity at Ajiro when we find him. Won't you shock me as well? Tenya didn't feel like experiencing friendly fire. I can focus it through my finger, dude. Aim it past us by having my hand in front. All right. Tenya used the capture tape to tie Denki to his back. Sucks that I tased Ochako a bit too much. Denki noticed she was still disoriented. She would be fine in a minute, but that was a minute he could spend piggyback riding Tenya to victory. She will be fine, let's go. Tenya charged up his engines and started searching room to room, faster than any of the other teams would. Dude, I think that they went to a higher up floor. Stairs would slow you down, Denki pointed out. Tenya nodded and decided to skip to the top floor. Better to deal with that first and work his way down. As they got to the 5th floor, they saw the rubble from when Katsuki blew through some walls. Man, that stuff is a tripping hazard for you, Denki remarked. It made sense to Tenya now to use rubble and objects as a way to slow his speed down. Deciding to search the rooms behind the rubble first, he got to a room that indeed had Mashiro and the bomb. Hi Ajiro, Denki waved from Tenya's back. Uraraka got you instead, Mashiro questioned Denki. Yeah, we baited. Denki was proud that his plan worked. Enough talk, villain, Tenya said. We are stopping your dastardly plan right now. Mashiro looked confused before he realized Tenya was taking the roles of the battle trials seriously. Deciding to play along, he smirked. You think you heroes can stop me? I will tear down this whole city and you will do nothing but watch. Denki grinned. Well, I bet you weren't prepared for this shock. Denki made a finger gun again and shot electricity out at Mashiro, who attempted to dodge but got hit in his tail. His tail went limp while Mashiro winced. Go Ida, Denki said. Recipro burst, Tenya said as his engines exploded into high gear and he and Denki flashed across the room at high speed, going past Mashiro before he could react and then holding the bomb in their hands. Hero team has obtained the bomb. Hero team wins. All Might signaled the end of the match. Soon all 4 students were back in the viewing room. Fumikage had left for his match early, taking Izuku with him. Ochako had returned Denki's gravity, and she was embarrassed about how easy she was taken out, vowing to make it far more difficult for people to do that anymore. Alright class, what went right? All Might asked. See, you spoke. Kaminari's plan to go in before Ida was actually genius. Everyone would expect Ida to be the one to get in first, and he took Uraraka's quirk use that would disable it. The villain's plan was also good, but it didn't account for if Ida didn't go in first. I honestly would have if Kaminari didn't give his idea. Tenya was embarrassed to think about the fact that they would have lost if not for Denki's idea. Nothing really went wrong on both sides. Kyoka said, everything just stems from if Ida went in first. Ochako was caught off guard and Ajiro didn't get a chance to make a move before Denki stunned him. Pikachu should be MVP since he actually had a good idea for once then. Katsuki added, with a few nods. Alright then, young Kaminari, you have placed MVP for match 4. All Might put his hand on Denki's shoulder. Awesome, Denki whooped. So why did we leave early? Takoyami got a good plan, Izuku said as he followed the cloaked Fumikage. Fumikage shook his head. Not sure how to start, he jumped right into it. Midoriya, are you a practitioner of the dark arts? Izuku did a double take. Dark arts. Midoriya, I heard you have a Ouija board and Dark Shadow can see something off about you. At the mention of his name, the shadow popped out of Fumikage to look at Izuku. That's a wild thing to ask. Izuku said, hey stupid, I am a demonic quirk here. Dark Shadow pointed at Izuku. I can sense other demonic things slightly and something big is going on with your entire person. Izuku was confused before he mentally slapped himself. Dark Shadow was talking about the halo, obviously. The first and most powerful demonic object. Oh yeah, I forgot that. Forgot what? Fumikage asked. Did Izuku just admit to practicing some major dark arts? Well, I can't really hide it from a demon apparently, and you already know. I have a gift from an ancestor that is demonic in nature. Is it your grandfather? Fumikage asked. Yes. Izuku didn't feel like lying to Fumikage because he seemed to be someone he could trust. What is this demonic gift? Fumikage was interested. How do I put this? Izuku d his chin. Satan's cracked halo. Fumikage did a double take and Dark Shadow gasped. The Dark Lord himself. You are related to the devil? Fumikage didn't know how to react. No, my grandfather had the halo that he was given to by someone who bought it like a trophy, and my grandfather gave it to me. It actually is my quirk. Dark Shadow's eyes got wider. That means that you are Dark Shadow stopped mid-sentence. What? Izuku didn't know where Dark Shadow was going. I saw him once, Dark Shadow said as he remembered something. He arrived one day and he destroyed the armies of Satan to get his friend back. It was marvelous and something truly unforgettable. Dark Shadow looked at Izuku and saw the glasses that were similar to what the man once had. You're the descendant of the mortal Johnny Gat. Fumikage gasped at that moment. Dark Shadow has told him of how long ago a mortal entered hell to save a friend and fought Satan to save a friend. Dark Shadow had mentioned how this Johnny Gat had at one point actually saved Dark Shadow from being tortured into Satan's army, and how Dark Shadow felt indebted to the mortal, and now a descendant of him was right in front of them. That's my grandfather. Izuku was surprised Dark Shadow knew of Johnny. Wait, how are you a quirk but a demon from my great-great-great-great-grandfather's time? I wish to make myself helpful to the allies of the mortal that saved me from Satan's control, and years ago I was allowed to actually purify myself to leave hell and enter purgatory at the least. On my path to purgatory I was actually grabbed on accident by a family that wished to save their dying child, and I had made a decision to help them, becoming a quirk to Fumikage here. Wait, I was to die? Fumikage didn't know of the poor situation of his birth. You were not. You were a bit early and you parents panicked. I was already part of you at that point and I stayed. Dark Shadow didn't feel like having this become an emotional talk by revealing he felt kinship with Fumikage. Wait, so what is your actual quirk? Izuku asked. If Dark Shadow was a demon thing that attached itself to Fumikage, then he wasn't the real quirk. Strength that is affected by light or darkness. It affects me as well. What is it when you lose control of yourself? Fumikage always figured that Dark Shadow was similar to demonic things, but he was a literal demon from hell that was a passenger in his body. I'm a rare spirit, only 3 of us in total, and we lose sense of being in complete darkness or complete battle. Dark Shadow said, we also can't actually survive too long without a host or something to stay in, so don't worry about me ditching you now. This is a unique moment of learning. Izuku remarked, we'll be on you in a minute. Dark Shadow said, since you were young and in weakened health and I was in a bad state as well, we are tied together. Fumikage. This was unexpected. Fumikage remarked, will you die when I do? Dark Shadow shook his head. I will end up moving on with you to the next realm, or I could move on to another host. We should talk on that later. Fumikage said, we should prep for our match. Izuku cut in. I agree with the descendant. Dark Shadow nodded. Do you have anything yet? Fumikage asked. Your training with Yae Arazu surely must have enlightened you to her skills. Oh, you have no idea. Izuku said. No doubt she is planning on how to deal with my abilities. We should expect them to not be near any windows because I could just fly on in. Xiaoji also has heightened senses from his quirk, so they will be deeper inside. Perhaps the more maze-like second floor. That floor actually has no windows at all. Fumikage the bottom of his beak. We should definitely expect traps. Do they know how Dark Shadow is weaker in light? Izuku asked. No, I didn't bring it up yet. Perfect. So I just developed a perfect idea. Dark Shadow, how long can you go before you go completely berserk? Before I go completely out of my own control or fumicate and go into a blind rage, maybe a minute or two if not provoked. Dark Shadow was wondering what the descendant was thinking. Can this stop you? Izuku summoned his wings and pointed to the feathers. Dark Shadow floated closer and held his shadowy hands to the flames. I feel a sense of great calmness near this, more so than I have felt in some time, Dark Shadow remarked. Izuku's smile got even wider. Excellent. Takoyami man, take 2 and use them when he goes berserk. Fumikage plucked 2 of the feathers, noticing how warm the flames were, despite their apparent harmlessness. So what is your plan? That smile suggests you have something good. Oh, this will be perfect. Izuku's grin got wider. This is an excellent spot to avoid Midoriya's entrance with his wings, Mezu remarked at the room they found. Izuku will no doubt know we went somewhere he can't fly into, Momo said as they set the bomb down in a corner and put boxes in front of it to almost hide it completely from sight. This floor will definitely be what he suspects because of the lack of windows, and the maze this floor has offers more chances for me to set up traps I can create, and you can sense better than all of us. It is well seen that we would go here. Mezu nodded. However, it is our best shot and we will be prepared for them. Momo went to the door. I won't come back after I make traps. It will be best to try to catch Izuku or Takoyami off guard. That is okay. I will let you know if I need assistance back here. Mezu sat cross-legged on the floor meditating. Momo left to get prepared. Students, what are your thoughts on our final match? All Might himself was incredibly eager to see the matchup of some of the more level-headed of the class. Glowstick and Spiky Hair both are geniuses and amazing at planning. Katsuki said. Arms and Bird Brain are level-headed and will definitely be aware of the strategy skills their partners have, and this all comes down to how well they both plan against each other. They spent all of yesterday training, so more than likely they know each other's style well, and this all comes down to a game of who covered the most variables between the two. Although I think Glowstick will end up with the first interesting idea he thinks of and act on impulse from there. I thought you said he plans well. Ijiro wondered why Katsuki just contradicted himself. Nito spoke to answer. Izuku gets impulsive but can think up a plan on the fly. He lives for excitement in battles and spars. Trust me, you don't want to spar with him going full out. He will make up a great strat for Takoyami but get impulsive on his end without disrupting Takoyami's flow. This is really if Yaoyorozu can outplan how impulsive Izuku is in a spar. Are you sure you aren't just building up Midoriya's skills? Mashiro asked. Half of everyone looked at him. Dude, I am known for impulsiveness. Denki started. Izuku is on another level sometimes. Midoriya, most of your plans seem to be for me after the start. Fumikage stated. Do you not plan on doing much? Izuku smacked his glasses into goggles. No, I just figured I would do it on the fly. Much funner that way. Izuku stretched his wings to get them ready. You good to go? I am prepared. Fumikage liked Izuku's plan. It was bold and worked well in Dark Shadow's favor. Momo finished her last trap. Shaoji, I am done. I will be in the other side of the floor if you need me. I will remember that. This shall be intriguing. Anyone else not liking the grin Izuku has? Toru asked the room as they saw the winged kid grin like a mad. Katsuki showed his own grin. The mad lad has something working out upstairs. Match 5 begin, All Might announced. Izuku immediately flew off the ground and away from the building down the street. What half of the class exclaimed, not expecting Izuku to leave. Izuku slammed into the ground down the street. He landed by a transformer yard, giving electricity to the whole block. The building his opponents were houses in as well. Time to boogie. Izuku grinned as he channeled electricity through his arms and pushed it into the transformer. Momo looked up at the lights that suddenly flickered and then went out, leaving her in complete darkness. He wouldn't. Did Izuku just take out a block's power? Denki asked. Izuku grinned again as the leftover electricity danced around him. Ew, that tickles. Izuku flapped his wings and flew back to the building, entering a big enough window to accommodate his wings in the 3rd floor. Once Izuku sat down and stood, he got rid of his wings and turned his goggles to the sunglasses. Takoyami man, I am in, Izuku said through his headset. Excellent. Let us have our revelry in the dark. Yaoyorozu, the power is out for the whole floor, Mezu said through his headset. It was Izuku. Momo said back. Do you think you will be fine? I can create night vision goggles. I can create more ears to increase my hearing. Mezu answered. I can make do. Don't risk your position on my account. Okay. Be prepared for Izuku. I find that to be a bigger task as time goes on. Izuku made his way into the 2nd floor, which was almost pitch black with darkness around him save for the glow of his halo veins. Izuku turned off his veins and cursed as the faint glow of the veins when they were powered off still was noticeable. Guess I might as well keep them on. Izuku shrugged, letting his power flare back up. illuminating the hallway a bit, letting him see the almost unnoticeable shadow of a string spanning the hall in front of him at the height of his ankle. Pretty sneaky Momo, Izuku muttered as he stepped over the string. If it weren't for his decision to cut the power, he would not have noticed that. I try, Momo whispered in his ear, sending a chill down his neck. Izuku jumped away and prepared a green blast in his left hand and a small shield of his mold in his right hand. What's up, Momo? He asked to the girl who had turned on her cloak, outlining her shadowy body in a red glow. Just here to restrain you. Momo grinned. Nito's eyes widened slightly at the sight of Momo's cloak, resembling his own orange one. Izuku never told him that Momo accepted the star. The camera luckily had a different source of power to stay on so the class could still view them. The cameras also had a setting to see in the dark. I didn't know Yaoyorozu could do that, Anjiro said. Mina had a grin. Did anyone notice how happy Momo got when she got close to Midori? Well, maybe she was glad to get the jump on him. Denki shrugged. Then why would she whisper to him instead of attack? Tsuyu asked. Because young love, Mina squealed. You have to stop, Kyoka said. One case at a time, Mina said. And her case is next. Kyoka's face turned red and Nito felt a shiver. Izuku threw his blast and Momo dodged it, moving closer as she created a staff. Swinging the staff at Izuku, she grinned. Not smart of you to turn off the power. I can create night vision goggles and you don't have an ability to see in the dark. Izuku molded 2 batons in his hands. Shame that I cut the power for Takoyami then. Izuku started to use his batons to defend himself from Momo's onslaught, who stayed on the offensive. Either way, I have the advantage. I can see and know where the traps are. Momo got past Izuku's defense and smacked the staff into his side as hard as she could. Izuku knocked into the wall and bounced off before Momo could attack again. Izuku got rid of his mold and charged green blasts to his hands. Funny because I figured the biggest trap would be your eyes. Momo blushed. No, it's actually this. Momo shot a beam at Izuku, who sidestepped it and stepped into the string, activating a trap. A block swung down and almost clocked Izuku, but he quickly grabbed it and used the moment to jump over to Momo and flicked a green blast into her side to stun her. I say the eyes would have worked better, Izuku said as he threw a punch at her shoulder. Momo ducked under an attempt to sweep Izuku's legs, but he grabbed her leg and attempted to flip Momo, but she rotated to land a kick on Izuku's shoulder. Izuku winced and started to charge up electricity. Try getting close with this, Izuku said. Momo created another staff made of wood. Try dodging this. Fumikage let Dark Shadow lead him through the darkness. His eyes slowly adjusting to see, but Dark Shadow seeing perfectly helped them surge. Fumikage holding the feathers turned out to be a way to help Dark Shadow stay calm somewhat. There is a person here, Dark Shadow announced in a slightly agitated tone. Fumikage entered the room and heard Mezu speak. Hello, Takoyami. I take it the power is cut in your favor, Mezu said as he stood up. No, it's my favor, Dark Shadow answered. Indeed, I am equally as blind as you, Fumikage said to Mezu. While I may be blind right now, I can more than make up for it with my hearing. Mezu got into his fighting stance. Sucks for you that I have both working well, Dark Shadow growled, signaling to Fumikage he has to start watching his control. Their fighting is so fluid, Mashirao said, referring to Izuku and Momo. It almost seems like a dance at this point how they are moving around each other. They did spend all day yesterday training together. Tsuyu agreed that it was amazing to see how the two went at it. Izuku shot to the side to avoid the downward swing of the staff and jumped off of the ground hard enough to launch over Momo. As he flipped over her, he grabbed the night vision goggles and took them with him. Guess we both can't see anymore, Izuku said, ignoring how they both were glowing with their energies and were obviously visible to the other because of them. Oh well, shame. Momo swept Izuku's legs successfully and he fell into his back, his sunglasses flying off. Momo created a gun quickly and got on top of Izuku, pinning him down and holding the gun to him. Mezu had difficulty keeping Dark Shadow at bay while Fumikage tried to move around him to the bomb. Give up, Shaoji, I can only hold him back for so long and we obviously will prevail with our numbers. Fumikage was worried that the feathers weren't working as well as they were earlier with Izuku. Mezu weighed his options and knew it was better for his health. Momo's headset stopped giving him signals and he could hear a scuffle far off. He was by himself here and the odds weren't in his favor at this moment. I give. Mezu couldn't act like he could pull some trick out to stop Dark Shadow and Fumikage simultaneously. Thanks. Excuse me while I get the bomb and subdue Dark Shadow. You know, as bad as a situation where you just created a gun out of your arm and have me pinned in what would really be a tense situation, I gotta admit that creating a gun like that and pinning someone so effectively is a major turn on, Izuku said. Abu, Momo stammered as her face heated up. Izuku channeled energy to the pad in his vest underneath where Momo was and sent electricity up into her, stunning her. Izuku quickly flipped their positions as he disarmed her and held the gun to her. The hero team has secured the bomb. Hero team wins, All Might announced as the power came back to the building, letting everyone see the huge amount of blushing coming from Izuku and Momo. They both didn't move for a second, staring into each other's eyes. Izuku, noticing how Momo had a red outline to her irises now from her star powers. Momo mesmerized by the electricity that danced around Izuku's eyes. Izuku realized the position they were in and jumped up. A good fight. Izuku stammered as he handed Momo her pistol back. Yes, you had some good moves. Momo avoided looking at Izuku. Izuku didn't like how all his confidence from during the fight actually disappeared, making him feel dumb for going from someone who said what he just said to can't even look at the girl beside him. Izuku hated the look he saw when the four of them returned to the viewing room. The look being from Mina, who looked like she was about to explode with what he assumed to be proclamations of young love that was really just him using flirting as a distraction. "Alright class, what is the evaluation?" All Might asked. Midoriya's plan to cut the power was smart, but it put 2 of the 3 minds in his team at a disadvantage. Tenya said. He himself couldn't see and was a target for Yaoyorozu, who was roaming and had made goggles to see through the dark, which didn't matter because his quirk makes those lines on him glow brightly in the dark. He did, however, subdue Yaoyorozu with questionable methods. Methods of love, Mina muttered. Tenya ignored the pink girl beside him. Takoyami's 2-person team with Dark Shadow is formidable, and there wasn't anything Shoji could have done in that moment to stop Takoyami. Shoji had no choice, and it is admirable that he had the foresight to give. Indeed, sometimes the odds can be overwhelming. Hopefully this and every match today shows you all how your skills are currently and how you can improve. All Might said. Who's our MVP? Izuku asked. All Might looked embarrassed. Oh yes, I was getting ahead of myself. It could go either way between Midoriya and Takoyami really, Ijiro said. Now the glowstick hindered himself in his plan, and the only one of use after the power went out was Bird Brain. Katsuki said. Hell, Bird Brain made up 2/3 of the team. With that in mind, I guess young Takoyami is MVP of match 5. All Might said. What do MVPs get exactly? Denki asked. Glad you asked, young Kaminari. All Might chuckled. The answer is that you get to pick your teams for Thursday's event. What's Thursday's course going to be? Mina was excited. You shall find out Thursday. All Might laughed. Everyone wanted to know, but waiting wasn't too bad. You are all dismissed. Put your hero suits away and you can return to your classroom for anything Aizawa might say or want to do. As the girls were changing back into their school outfits, Mina asked a question. So yeah, Momo. Mina waited for Momo to look at her so she could see the reaction. Momo said as she buttoned her shirt. What was that between you and Midori earlier? Kinda playful for a match against each other, don't you think? Mina smirked when she saw how red Momo got. That was just tactics in our fight. Momo did not like that look Mina had. Those were odd tactics. Toru joined in. You had the drop on him and could have whacked him over the head instead of just whispering. Plus you had a playful smile the whole time. Suyu added. If I had to say, you have a crush on Midoriya. What? Momo squeaked. That makes sense. Yui nodded. I don't. Momo cleared her voice. I don't have a crush on Izuku. Please girl, he is hot as hell. If I wasn't trying to get you and his young love together, I would have jumped on him by now. Mina said. While Mina is right in Midoriya being hot, I gotta say I noticed the only girl he has actually looked at like a guy would is Yaoyorozu. Toru said. And he did say you were attractive. Mina waved her hand. With very pretty eyes. Speaking of which, when your guys' fight happened and you pinned him, Momo was covering her face to hide the embarrassment. You almost had a predatory look when you were on him, girl. Whether you are aware of it or not, you want to jump him, Mina said. And he clearly was into it and was able to flip it, and you both looked really into it. You should ask him on a date, Toru exclaimed. No one but Kyoka noticed that Ochako stormed out of the locker room. Kyoka followed her out. Yo Midoriya, what was that in your match? Denki asked. What you mean? Izuku asked as he put on his purple shoes. Don't act like you don't know what we mean. Minoru pointed an accusing finger at Izuku. What was that? Flirting with Yaoyorozu? Most of the boys turned to Izuku to see what he would say. Oh, that was a way to throw her off so I could get the advantage, Izuku said. What advantage did you need? Minoru asked. You are the physically strongest and fastest here using your quirk. You were playing with her. Oh, that? Oh yes, definitely. Izuku nodded. So you admit to it? Minoru asked. Yeah, she's a good friend, and I figured Takoyami had his side taken care of. You decided to flirt? Hanta asked. No, I decided to mess around with a friend. Izuku didn't understand their confusion. That was definitely you flirting, Denki said. Whether you know it or not, you were flirting. And my man, I think she was digging it. Is that why she held a gun to my face? Izuku asked. See, I always wondered if that was a sign of attraction. Either way, you did say you were turned on by it, Ijiro added. To throw off her groove. No way in hell would Izuku say it was an actual turn on at that moment. What was that whole staring thing you both did then? Denki asked. Dude, I can still feel that Yule tension. Okay, weird thing to say. Izuku put back on his sunglasses. I am going to leave now because you all are crazy. Izuku left into the hallway, ignoring their calls for him to finish the conversation. As he walked down the hall, he saw Ochako sitting against a wall with her head in her knees. Hey Kirby, what's up? Izuku said. HHI Izuku. Ochako breathed out. Her voice sounded bad, like she was crying. Izuku slumped down next to her. What's wrong? Who do I gotta beat up? Ochako sniffled. It's nothing. I don't have tears over nothing, so I assume you don't either. Come on, I gotta look out for my friends. It's stupid and it shouldn't be something to worry about. Ochako still hadn't looked up at him. Ochako, I am stupid and you guys worry about me all the time. Izuku put an arm around her. Friends should be there for friends when everything is tough. I have a crush on you, Ochako quickly said without thinking. Upon saying it, she expected Izuku to laugh, or leave, or say that she was dumb for thinking she had a chance. That is a tough situation, Izuku said. I question why you put your bar so low. Girl, you could have someone with impulse control with your hair alone. Ochako felt like snorting a little. I wish I could have had the slightest bit of emotional understanding when it comes to this stuff earlier so you wouldn't be wasting tears on me. You're amazing, and if things were different I have no doubt that you would definitely be the one wearing the pants out of us, but I am starting to believe I have feelings for another person. Ochako felt crushed by that sentence. Why would Izuku say that? I don't know if I can find a way here to make you feel better other than finding a way to get Katsuki to call himself a pretty princess. I will however vow to help you feel better if you ever find a way for me to do so, and I take that stuff seriously. If you got someone you see and you want their lunch money, I will hold them upside down and shake it out of them. I swear you get that one. Make Izuku do whatever I say card, and I am sad to say it is non-refundable. Ochako looked up at him finally. Here, teary red eyes looking into his green sunglasses. I know what you can do. Well, that was fast, Izuku said. What is it? Don't mess up with her. Hey, Yaoyorozu. She likes you also. They were talking about it just now. She likes you and doesn't know how much, and you like her too. I'm pretty sure everyone knows after your match. Geez, is that all anyone talks about? There were 4 other matches. Izuku groaned. Just don't let her feel as bad as I am. Are you sure you don't want to ask for anything selfish? Izuku asked. I can rob a bank, I think, if I believe in myself hard enough. Ochako shook her head. I want to be a rescue hero. I don't want her in this situation. I also doubt you would rob a bank. That is doubt, I hear, and I don't appreciate that. You need one of us to do the thinking half of the time. Name one time I acted without thinking. Last week when we saw that shark you thought was a dolphin. The day before that when you wanted to see how high you could fly and almost crashed. Yesterday when you hurt your arm. Today when you broke your mold. I said name one time, Kirby. Ochako giggled. Sorry, I had too many to choose from. Glowstick. Hey Midoriya, Ijiro's voice interrupted them from down the hall. Come on, I plan on beating you at your challenge. I'll be there soon, Izuku shouted back. He turned back to Ochako. Hey, will you be fine? Ochako nodded. I'm fine now. Thanks, Izuku. Izuku gave her a tight one-handed hug. I'm still going to get Katsuki to call himself a pretty princess now. Ochako smiled. I can't wait. Izuku got up and started to run towards where Ijiro was, ready to lose Kirishima. Kyoka walked over to Ochako. Hey, Ochako said as she stood up. Are you really fine? Kyoka asked. You heard everything. Kyoka twirled her earphone jack. I can hear a lot because of these. Does everyone forget that? Kinda, especially when you don't say anything about what you hear. Normally it's none of my business. This was just me making sure you're fine. Ochako nodded. I'm definitely fine now. It's gonna suck for the next few days, but I will manage. If it helps, I can probably find a way to get Ashido to stop with her young love stuff. It is kinda annoying at this point. You're just saying that because she knows you have a crush on Nito. Kyoka's eye twitched. No, I don't. Ochako looked at her without blinking, giving her a really look. It's fine if you do or don't, except that will leave Nito in my situation. What do you mean? Everyone can tell he has a crush on you but is too nervous to say anything. Kyoka put her face in her hands and groaned. When did our lives become a teenage drama? When we became teenagers. Okay, so I will have Momo, Denki and Hanta plus Nito just sitting on my back while you have Ashido, Ajiro, Aoyama and Toru. Izuku said. Ijiro nodded. Are we going for time or total? We however can go the longest. Try to match each other's speed. Izuku dropped to the floor. Alright, let's have it be shown that I am stronger. Ijiro dropped to the floor as well. Let it be known that those were your famous last words that I made you eat.